Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Andreas, Declan, Boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts, etc. Keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else from Queen Bees.
Well, about as professional as prostitution.
Life on the
In
road.
response to your previous comment. So look at you. How's it going?
I'm playing Mario. I'm going to hit both bricks with my head.
My God.
You know what? Let's just get the current event stuff out of the way, Andres. I know what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about the Claude
Mario
leak.
Galaxy. Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
Mario Galaxy. There's Mario Galaxy, the Claude leak. There's also there's Japan invading Twitter. The cultural exchange between Japan Twitter and USA Twitter, where it turns out like both countries really connect and relate over how racist they are and how conservative they are. Yeah, it's really funny. It's actually kind of endearing.
All 6 Japanese people left, but yeah, that's true. I feel bad for Japanese Twitter. I mean, it's easy to nationalize Japan though, because they're just watching themselves be replaced by tourists, which is exactly how Vietnam must have felt with American kids falling from the sky with hula hoops and Coca-Cola cans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also there's a bunch of NEETs in Japan who are like chronically online, just like America. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I mean, like
should we acknowledge the national holiday too? I mean,
totally. That's what I thought we were going to talk about. Like how
I'm going to moon the audience. No, I'm just kidding. April Fools.
Yesterday was a bunch of cool stuff. Like you're talking about the Claude code stuff. That was all yesterday. Now that it's April Fools, everything is just Men in Black level, where you have to check which is true and which is a secret. You know, they're pretending is a lie. There's April Fool's jokes, and then there's the April Fool's disclosures, and there's a lot more of those than people realize.
Well, there's divulgence, there's disclosure, and then there's declassification. And I feel like somehow you brought on another show called Divulgence, even though you had kind of Xirtus disclosure. But if online you start going into the territory of I've declassified something and I'm sharing it online, it's a different type of whistleblower. Didn't Joe Kent? Oh no, who was it that just died? There was someone, Stephen Mueller, maybe.
Yeah. I love Jordan. It's just I cannot listen to like people talking about people for like more than 10 minutes. It's not gonna happen. Like I can't do it. Like I just can't. Like it's cool. Like I get it. You know, people lead to events lead to ideas, but it's like when you just fixate on the people for like that long, I'm like, fuck no, I cannot. Like I'm sorry, I cannot listen to another rant about how much Andrew Tate's a piece of shit or Clavicular is a piece of shit or what celebrity gossip is going on. Like, yeah, it's funny, but if we're gonna take it too seriously, I'm like, no, thank you. Like,
yeah, I mean, the amount of people that are being upset at the different opinions people have that put it on the Divulgence podcast. I get a lot of comments from people that are just really upset about like the perspectives of people, and then I'll go back and look at some of those clips and see that the interviewee is like they're crazy. They have like a highly opinionated reality that their opinionated information. They're informed by their opinion. Their emotional opinion is the only way that they can see the world. And sometimes it's useful because it leans to a chronic bias, confirmational bias perspective. And from there you can find, I mean, that's great. Like you can find things you don't know yet from confirmational bias. It's not always a bad thing because you'll look for evidence of your confirmational bias. But a lot of the time that just means that you can't be sure that what they're seeing is real. That doesn't mean it's not real, but it doesn't mean that you can be sure of it unless you look into it yourself.
See, I used to make a practice out of actually saying what I think, even if I'm thinking out loud. But now I assume there's like this baseline disingenuity with people saying things tongue in cheek. I kind of cut my teeth in college humor in terms of what my style of humor was, like Stephen Colbert, pretending to be a conservative, to say the things that conservatives say to show you how ridiculous they sound, not all the time, but sometimes they really sound ridiculous when it comes down to specific topics or specific threads of philosophy. But no, a lot of people online nowadays, do actually mean what they're saying. And as Andreas said, it informs their emotional approach to the world, which it's terrifying.
If you get deeper into communication as a skill, which anyone could really get good at as long as you have the ability to use your words, I would say you would find the most common thread is insinuation. Like every great speaker is really good at insinuating things, which is like a skill in and of itself, to be able to like not actually say the thing, but to make everyone think it while you say something else. Like that's probably one of the most seductive traits you can have when it comes to communication. So I think it's like there's something to be said about like, it would be easier on neurodivergent minds if everyone just fucking said what they meant, but it kind of takes the fun out of like language in a lot of ways,
You're muted.
Yeah.
The snake is eating its tail. I mean, the Ouroboros is our language, and we're in a time where even if you try to be sincere, the language in and of itself makes it sound like you're either making a fart joke or a dick joke.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where with just our language. So then the humor that follows from there. No Vincent though, huh?
He must be working. I think Andrew might show up at some point as well. I don't know, what were you thinking about Vincent? I got a kilo of maple syrup, and I can have maple syrup on buckwheat pancakes or waffles because I got a waffle iron anytime I want now, and it makes me feel pretty Canadian, like in a good way.
Is it possible to make booze out of maple syrup?
I'm sure. I mean, sugar. So yeah. It's not like they probably do that all the time. But like, why would you? Maple syrup is in and of itself so freaking great. Like the kinds of minerals in the sugars or something. It's like medicinal syrup.
Like honey.
Yeah. So, having maple syrup is something you wouldn't want to turn it into alcohol because you could use other cheaper sugars to do that.
Yeah, why would you want to make alcohol with quality products? I mean,
well, true.
Which is the logic that Andreas is putting forward is the one the industry uses. Yeah. but unfortunately, like when Grandpa makes his hooch, he doesn't choose the B grade.
I just meant like from apples. You can use apples.
Yeah.
Sucrose, fructose.
I'm not trying to neg. I'm trying to yes and. Yeah.
Like prison liquor is made from like fruits with a bit of bread, for the yeast to start the fermentation process. You can do that.
How do you know that? How do you?
You could just distill. I saw it on in a book for kids.
The first lab that we did in AP Bio in sophomore year of high school, junior year, was make rum out of molasses of various concentrations. And granted, we made a test tube's worth, but it got the kids to pay attention. It was all the straight edge kids who didn't drink, but were like, "Oh, we're gonna know how to make booze? Sweet!" And it was just putting yeast in the tube, and then measuring based on the concentration of the sugar and the amount of yeast, how much the balloon blew up on top of the test tube. And it was just a way to kind of stoichiometrically.
Now you can just ask a language model. It's like, yo, this is everything in my house. How can I make something that'll get me twisted?
You never saw the documentary about the kids that were smoking shoes in the 90s?
No, do tell.
They were like, look, you can smoke any household substance. We'll show you how, like a shoe. You can smoke a shoe. Look.
Did it get high?
I mean, when you inhuff petrochemicals that are burnt, sure, you can feel something.
And they made a whole documentary out of that?
Yeah, it was like some ABC Nightline special about these two kids who. It's human nature. If you don't give us good things to smoke, we'll smoke bad things, unfortunately, because we play with fire.
Mm. You really like,
But,
you really like smoking weed? Do you think about smoking weed a lot throughout the day?
No, so what I did last week was I rolled 50 joints and 50 hand-rolled cigarettes all in one big session so that throughout the rest of the week, I'm not engaged with the process of making and rolling.
You know what?
Do I think about weed? No. If I didn't have weed and I wasn't smoking weed, maybe I would think about weed.
Well, that's like, I think that's like becoming a metapod head. Like I could totally relate to that. Like there was a time when I didn't think about weed because I wasn't smoking it. And there was a time when I thought about it a lot because like it was harder to get. And now I smoke so much of it where I budget it into my life where it's like, okay, I got to get this much for the week, which translates to X amount for the month. So I guess that's how you know you're like a super duper stoner when you start budgeting it in with your like groceries and shit.
I mean, I'd rather eat peanut butter than even like sandwiches that cost literally a BLT near where I live costs $20. Costs $20 for one sandwich now, and weed is $65 for an ounce. So of all the products and commodities in this world, the price keeps going up. For potheads, yeah, right. As you said, Chris, I totally relate to this idea. I'm budgeting. I feel like a fucking druggie. I'm budgeting my medicine in with my food. Yeah, but now the price of weed has dropped 5x to the customer, 4x. As long as you cure it yourself, you're not smoking THCA. So it's a new time. I'm not saying it's a solution to the problem, but
indeed, we should all just have like weed gardens near our homes, public access. Just go in, pick your bud, pick your flower, go home.
In edible landscapes, that would be nice too if like the trees weren't male, so that there was fruit.
But there would also be like rotting fruit everywhere, which could attract. I guess that's not so bad. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, it's by design, not only for the vermin, but people see other people as vermin too. Yeah, and if you have a district where instead of all the trees in the neighborhoods are oak trees, they're apple trees, some people are hungry. And they're going to come through. And then there's lead flashing in the houses because we're here in New England. And along the eaves of the roof and chimney, they folded a piece of lead and hammered it into the roofing. So as water runs off over the course of 50 years, 150 years into the dirt alongside the houses that have this flashing, you don't want to plant things in there and then eat them because the plants take the heavy metals up out of the soil and offer them to your taste buds. But I guess that's neither here nor there.
Indeed. I feel like if there was if you were like a little boy and I had to choose your career path, I would choose botanist.
When I was attending college, there was an option to become a botanist that was studying marijuana at the University of Rochester. And somehow I didn't choose that path.
Well, botany's cool because like even plants have wisdom, you know, just like their growing patterns or the way their like nutrient gradients could work. It kind of reflects the way human behavior is really not that much different. We all kind of gravitate to the most accessible source of nutrients like the sun or water or etc. And there's wisdom in the way plants do it. Like, for example, I think some plants like the Pinus contorta or whatever, it could only reproduce by becoming destroyed. You know, you have to burn it because the seeds come out of the ashes and shit like that. You can kind of apply that to life. It's like, yeah, I have to go through my burning phase so I could be reborn as something new, like the phoenix.
Well, I could see how people who came from a culture potentially, or even just a family that is dealing with the genetics of any plant, let alone marijuana, eugenics and this mindset of identifying one new phenotype and then replacing 500 acres of crops of something that was almost just like that, but not quite the same. And when you apply that to humanity, though, it's the implications are pretty scary.
Indeed. People could be scary too.
For sure.
Kurt
most dangerous
looks like the villain from Inspector Gadget. I mean, I've only ever seen the backside of him, but I mean, the villain from Inspector Gadget, but it's always petting a cat, you know.
Now you
Inspector
could see
Gadget,
full
I barely
frontal.
know her.
Wait, what?
You get to
I
see
said
full frontal
Inspector.
now.
No, go ahead, Luke. No, please.
Sorry, Kurt.
Full frontal.
Full Frontal Villain. That's the name of your new album. Full Frontal Villain.
No, I got a new album. So instant commercialism. I got to advertise myself. Welcome to APM. All right, go listen to my new album now. But yeah, we are beneath the bonsai, and who knows when I will have the urge to create again. That's not a bad thing, but that's what we got for now. So hope you all enjoy it. And thanks for having me on. Hope you're all doing well.
Wait, you do have a new album, or that was a joke? You do, right? Or are you
It's
kidding?
not a joke. It's out. It's out right now. You can
didn't
go
even
search for it.
fucking Tell me what?
Well, I remember last stream. No, Kurt did tell us that he was working on something and that it would take a few months. That was it. That was his prediction.
And
So
now
it
it's
didn't get
out.
stuck in utero. You gave birth to the album.
God, they want me to like log in and all this stuff. Oh my god!
And it has 11 tracks on it, just like the Sephret. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
That is
Oh,
pretty-
nice.
That's a lot of work to put in there. Let's see here.
So
what am
I kind of got that feeling that right around that 30-minute mark too. I think that's kind of like what I'm feeling if I listen to something. I want someone to give me their soul in 30-minute increments, you know? So I'm happy it worked out to be pretty much just that. But if you guys like the electronic world, I listen to it all the time, and so like I'm at the point now where, well, specifically if I'm on Spotify, it's like it feels like I've gotten to the end of the road, and it's like Spotify doesn't know what to recommend me anymore, because like I'm always listening to, you know, just obscure.
Would you like to make your own music? Let's do it. If you recommend, you just do it yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. So I'm always adding stuff to my playlist of like things that I like. And yeah, I do get jealous of certain people because like how.
Oh my god! You know what you need to do? Can you make like, you know how like
Finish a
Windows
sentence? No, I'm just
has-
kidding.
Never, not here.
Everybody shut up.
Go ahead.
And let...
God damn it!
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Go ahead, Kurt. What were you saying? No.
I just get jealous of certain artists that I listen to because they're so good at rhythmically structuring their sound, or like creating separation between certain instruments and using like their synthesizers as a sort of rhythmic instrument, and yeah, just layering in the different sounds. And of course, but mine isn't necessarily about rhythmic layering. It's about blending, I guess, tonality.
Dude, if you're curious about this, why don't you just ask me how to do this shit? I've been doing this like for 17 years, man. Like I could teach you everything you need to know about a fucking sidechain compressor. That's really what you're talking about, right? Like the rhythmic pulsing of a certain synth. That's a sidechain effect.
Well, most
do that pretty.
Sorry,
I thought you were about to try to lecture Kurt about music itself, and I was like, whoa,
that's exactly what.
Well,
I'm
but it's
doing.
means of production. Yeah.
There's some technical stuff that I definitely could learn a lot about, and I'm probably more savvy than a lot of people at this point, but there's still stuff I don't know. But I mean more from an artistic standpoint, as how they orchestrate their rhythmic layering, and so it's something theoretically I'm capable of, but it's like I've gone so far down the path of just like listening to timbre, and I said the word correctly this time. Listening to timbre and how it interacts with other instruments and other sounds within the song, that it feels like something Yeah, I'll just let other people have their good thing and try to.
So I don't know Timber. I don't know Timber. Is she cute or is she single?
Timber.
Oh, timbre, like a tambourine.
Like the textural quality of a
Gotcha.
timbre.
You should name your daughter that.
That's a good name. I think you know.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if you give her a name like Honor, you know, it's like that sounds great, but then you know the kids joke at school like I got Honor. Did you get Honor? You know?
Timbre sounds like a rich, anorexic, high performance law student or symphony even
Who's been playing the violin since she was 7.
Yeah, but she's been holding it since she was 1 or 2 because of the Suzuki method. Her parents decided to practice even though they're Jewish. But like she ends up going to Duke, you know, and NYU or no, NY State. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't have to, but she like because of this boy that she liked who ends up, you know, being gay. And then he moves away to study fashion in like Paris or something like that.
Maybe on the backside of the moon. I think he's studying fashion on the moon, though. Maybe.
Timbre. Dude, her whole life just flashed before my eyes. That was a lot.
Timbre.
Well, last time Chris was asking about story structure, and I think he was more interested again.
About it.
Yeah, but right there. So we just created a character. Now we need like 2 side characters in figuring out are they equal? Are they foils for each other?
You only need one character. What you have to give Timbre is the call to action, which was the romantic connection with this guy that she really liked, who turned out to be gay. I don't know if she knew that at that point in the story, but that was her call. She was like, all right, let's go with this. And then at the very bottom of that story circle where shit gets really fucked up for her, but it's necessary for her to be reborn as something better. She finds out that it's never going to happen, that she's never going to have this relationship with this guy. So the real
she becomes a boy. She becomes a boy so that the guy she loves will.
No,
sorry.
she learns.
Sorry, I went there.
She learns to accept things and learns to let them go. Come on, like deep inside, you knew this is the way the story has to go for her to become the character, to become a better person. And then they return with the gifts, with the higher wisdom of knowing. Sometimes you can't just go after the hot guy because sometimes he's gay, and she could move on to the next journey.
Yeah, and he's not even that hot. It's just like he's kind of boyish. He's very boyish. And so she liked that about him, but she didn't realize that was because she hadn't come into her own maturity yet. And so then she's more interested in this other guy who's, you know, he likes baseball. He's a Hasidic Jew who loves baseball and has like a big beard. Like it's, you know, he still wears a baseball cap. He loves it. He's Lubavitch. Yeah.
Apparently ladies love the way they handle their
women. He's cool about it. He's cool. He's not like always. It's not like the only thing he talks about. It just happens to be a fact that he is. You know, he's raised Lubavitch. You know what it is. But he's got like a bit of a.
How do we add a Kafka-esque element to the storyline? I guess by casting Jews in real life situations nowadays, that in and of itself is Kafka-esque because
she's actually intersex and she doesn't know it yet. She only finds this out because of her having like internal gonads where her cervix should be, like that house episode. No, too far.
Valid.
All right.
No. I'm trying to imagine it. I
hit a wall.
No, I literally, I was listening to NPR and there was literally this whole talk, like this excerpt from this lady's TED talk, and she's like, "I was born with balls. Where my ovaries are supposed to be are testicles, technically."
Yeah.
And I was just listening to this lady talk. Yeah, I was just listening to her talk about having
this lady. See how progressive he is? Terrorist called this person with balls a lady.
Yeah, because she identified it such. And she
well, that's where the word intern originally came from. Because sometimes the gonads, they're like born distended, and the surgeon tucks them up inside the baby and get it. And they've like turned them inwards, and they're going, "But those were balls. Why are you telling me it's a girl?" And it's like he's like, "I've been here before. Trust me, that's a woman." And you just let her know that she's not going to be able to have kids, or
it's cool. Yeah. Everyone's a little different. Everyone's got their own loadouts, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's enough of us that, you know, it's variation.
There's an intersex testimony where this dude, you know, like as a kid, he was born intersex. And so they chose to remove his penis and so that he would be a female. Unfortunately, that didn't work, and they still ended up masculine. So this very masculine intersex person who has a vagina instead of a penis. And
wait a minute. Wait, are we saying it's a mistake if there's a masculine woman though? I mean,
they're saying they assigned at birth. This person's
yeah. No, I know.
And the parents chose without the child being able to choose their own gender.
Sure.
More pressingly, and this kid ends up, not necessarily able to go ahead. Kurt?
Oh, I was just asking, like, had they any way of knowing? Did he have like both sets of testes or no?
So a vagina and a penis.
No, I mean like
it's like an enlarged
ovaries and testicles.
So they did
lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Yeah, but here is the baby now. No, I'm just kidding. How's it going? Good to see you.
What up?
Wow, you really, you had to be. You're the blue wave that the Republicans worry about in the South. I tell you, in the Midwest, you're showing up.
Welcome, Vega. Is that Andrew?
Jobs. Speaking of, this is the most intersex construction worker look you could have. Actually,
it's totally asking for it.
Construction. Is that a Budweiser mask on your? No, I can't tell.
No, it's for my local. It's a Bricklayers Allied Crafts person.
Yeah. I'll bet it is.
Trowel trades. Well, because if I don't do that, I picked a literal chip of brick out of my nose, thinking it was a booger, and it was just like, just because I've been chipping brick all freaking week.
Yeah, you're pulling chips out of your nose like a MK Ultra.
Yeah, so I gotta, even wearing all this, I'll still get like sand and mortar like flying behind my safety glasses. It stoops.
Beautiful.
Way.
Well, I've been not working very much. I mean, I've been doing all this computer crap. I wouldn't call it work, but just trying to get Final Fantasy 15 to work. I've been spending way too much time on that and getting it to like adjust to the monitor size. And thank you for bringing that up, Chris, because I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, that game was cool. And now I'm looking back at it. I'm like, that's like a great game.
Well, they're designed to be like. They're designed to be moving of the soul. It's like you play it and suddenly you get sucked in emotionally.
Yeah, it's great. I don't know. I feel like it's weird that it's not more famous than it is, or that it's not the most popular one somehow. It seems like there should be that world exists in the best world. You
mean that would be like the most tonic solution to toxic masculinity as we know it today? More bromance, boy love, adventures together, and the family regalia.
Is that the issue? Is it me? Is that the problem? Because it's great. It's
I agree with that sentiment.
And they're camping together. It seems it's positive because toxic masculinity is a lack of communicative male
experience. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. All right.
And it's a perfect model for like this group, dude. It's like
I totally agree.
Can I bring up the term safe male energy? Because everyone always hears the term toxic masculinity, and it is a thing, but you don't hear that there is a counterpoint to that. There is a yang to that yin that isn't femininity necessarily. And when I talk about masculine and feminine, I'm referring to them as literary devices from kind of a somewhat not bygone era, but from a culture in a time where there were more defined gender roles for survival purposes and reasons, as opposed to a society that I heard Tim Pool on air saying he thinks marriage should be permanent, and it says "till death do you part," and that's what it should mean. I don't know what's going on in his personal life. It's none of my business.
Well, I think
I'm going to the 1500s called. The 1500s called, and they want their ideology back. What do you mean marriage should be permanent? That's why women would kill their husbands and vice versa all the time.
That's more intent. That's more conservative than Muslims, right? Like even Muslims have divorce.
Correct.
At like
but
you have to say it 3 times is all.
With any relationship, even like one depicted in Final Fantasy, for example, like a set of relationships, I feel like the common theme is shared struggle just strengthens it. Like you take 2 random strangers and you put them in a situation where they have to like watch each other's backs for whatever reason just to get out of that situation. They're going to get closer. And I think like that's the heart of like strengthening teamwork, for example, or relationships. It's shared struggle. Like you'll get a lot more bromance, for example, in cultures like Korea, where like all the boys are suffering like massive amounts of bullying. Even the bullies get bullied, which is like fucking crazy. And you know, they end up like fostering close fraternal relationships because they're both like, yo, we just go to school every day just to get like physically and emotionally abused.
But they don't have school shootings though, huh?
I mean, if they maybe they would, I don't know. If they could get guns.
Well, so sometimes again, if everybody gets bullied, it's different than if just some people get bullied in terms of perhaps the texture of how
it's like institutionalized.
It's a personality cult. If everyone's always taking the piss out of it's called a personality cult. It's like everyone's always roasting each other, and that's how you know your friends is, hey, what up, shithead, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. A shared struggle. So if you want to get closer with someone, you know, and you're trying to engineer just relationship strengthening moments, I would say figure out a way to put yourselves in some shared struggle. Just like the APM crew, how we're constantly in the shared struggle of being.
Plus, there's like different roles. Like, so his friend is making dinner all the time for them, and he drives a lot. You know what I mean? There's the muscle guy who trains him every morning. He's like, all right, if you can beat me in this morning jog, then you don't have to train with me every day. If I win this, then you have to train with me every morning, right? There's all these weird little things that, you know, each person can be for the community, for the group. And it seems like that's a big point of the story, because the main character doesn't seem like he's doing nearly as much as other people are, because he's supposed to become the king, you know? And so they're like preparing him for what he's going to do for everybody, which is pretty great. I don't know. It's good. It's a freaking good story. And it's very modern.
Yeah. But they do, I mean, I don't want to say like all the Final Fantasy games repeat, but they definitely rhyme. So it's like in 10, the main character, one of them, the protagonist, was this chick where, you know, she was like the one that the whole party protected and had to like drag across, like the Frodo of the group. And the idea was the same thing. It's like, you have to save the entire fucking universe, and in the process, you're going to die. Sorry. Tough break, kid.
Yeah. It was good though. I mean, like, honestly, I think they did an amazing job with it.
What's with the FF alliteration? I know you guys are big on numerology, but as far as the alphanumerics of it, so FF, other than like there's friendly fire and false flags. But video games, I heard Tetris originally, they wanted to release it in the United States because they felt it would depreciably lower the GDP of the United States, because a certain amount of the free time of United States citizens that would be taken, both children and adults, would be taken up by playing Tetris on a Game Boy instead of resting or building community or relationships or working. So with all these video games, it becomes its own cottage industry, though, clearly.
The shared struggle of being a video game developer.
Well, I mean, Final Fantasy was like the last try that they had. They thought, well, we're probably going to go bankrupt as a company, so this will be the final attempt. And it was a successful game, so they went on to make more games.
And also they got the tap on Disney money, yo, with Kingdom Hearts. That's no joke. That's like serious dough.
But they didn't originally. I looked it up because I thought maybe they meant Ultimate. I thought that maybe Final Fantasy was a bad translation of Ultimate Fantasy, because it would be a better title to say it's the Ultimate Fantasy. But I think while they know that, they're saying they want to make it clear, like, oh no, if you say Final Fantasy, it doesn't mean Ultimate Fantasy. It means like this is the final thing. That they thought, yes, actually, that's really what we mean. We mean that more than we meant Ultimate Fantasy when we said that in Japanese. And there's something about that lost in translation thing that makes it work. So there's a great Japanese movie called Fish Story. It's a lot. I mean, I love Japanese movies. A lot of people watch a lot of Japanese anime, but I think the Japanese movies, like Bright Future, for instance, is Bright Future from 2003, probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Like up there with Metropolis is this video of a movie that's about a Japanese guy who raises a jellyfish and then he dies, and they're going to release the poisonous jellyfish into Tokyo. It's a crazy movie. It's worth watching. It's really simple in a weird way as well. But the Japanese will tell in these stories, in Fish Story, there's a band that is famous and they're retired now. And the radio is talking about the band. In the video, they're saying this band's really great. look what they did for Japan. They're the most important band in Japan. Everybody remembers them as like so Japanese. And the band made a song called Fish Story. And they made a lot of songs, but Fish Story is the one that everyone loves the most. And they're thinking about it, and they're like, that song is so iconic. It's so Japanese. It's the je ne sais quoi of Japan. How do they do it? And the bands then cut to the band. They're thinking about it. And they're like, I don't know. Like, how did we do it? That's who we were. You know, it was a long time ago. We made this.
Well, Kurt, if you wanted to make an iconic song, that was America. What you do is start with "Baby Shark," do 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 do. April Fool. Sorry, I had to throw. But yeah, what is the epitome of American culture? That's a good question. I mean, I hear what you're saying. So yeah.
So what happened was that they cut back to that night, and they realized what happened was they were like, "Do you want to know what happened?" They're playing the music. They're playing covers of other songs. They're all trying to cover punk rock. Because it's the 80s and this Japanese band love punk rock, and they're trying to be like things that they've seen from the West that they're emulating poorly. You know, they're not very good at being Billy Idol or something. And then one of them says, here, like, why don't you play that one, you know, like bass thing that you did, but do it with, you know, that kind of like the other song, the lullaby, you know, that lullaby we heard as a kid? Do that. And they do this thing, and then he says, here, I'm just going to sing this. And he grabs this book, and he starts reading it. And it says, if I were a fish, I would swim in the sky. I would not be wet. I would be so dry. You know, this whole crazy thing that sounds really good. And he's just reading it from this random book that they found that's old and shitty. And they don't remember. They're like, why did we do that? I don't know. We just needed some lyrics. Where did that come from? I don't know what it was about. So they look it up, and they're like, do you really want to know where that book, why we're famous, like where it all comes from? Like why we're the most famous punk band in Japan after all these years? Well, this book was actually supposed to be a dictionary. So this guy was after World War II. His family were dead, almost all of them, except for his wife and kids. You know, he had no one to protect him, or maybe it's his mother's alive or something like that. And he's looking for a job. Like everyone's looking for any job that they can do at all. And he looks in and he finds a job, and it says translator for this new, you know, project, this book or whatever. And he doesn't speak a word of English, but he's going to do whatever work he has to do as a Japanese guy. He's going to do whatever job it is. It doesn't matter. He just needs a job. He'll do the work. It doesn't matter. So he gets this thing, and then he buys with some of the money that they're going to pay him. He doesn't get any food. He just gets a dictionary, and he translates word for word everything in this book. Like from the dictionary, he picks out that this is an English word that fits that word from Japanese, and he makes this Japanese translation that is of this book that's complete gibberish. It doesn't make any sense. It's, if I were a fish, I would have scales that were sharp, and they would be triangles that would hit inside of me. You know, all this weird stuff that sounds weird in Japanese, but
sounds like what a reptilian would type through AI or something. But go ahead.
He does exactly. It just comes off weird, but he does exactly what, you know, he needs to do his job. And the book's terrible. It's not what it was originally at all. It's not a perfect translation at all. It's completely, everything is lost in translation. Everything is found, therefore, in mistranslation, in their own cultural interpretation of this thing. And their cultural interpretation comes with a set of rules. The rules are they will do anything. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter how incapable they are. They understand that they're not good enough. They're not like capable of doing this job. We're not worthy. They still do the job though. And so that's why I think it's an interesting movie, Fish Story, because it's really it happened right before Fukushima. And Fukushima was a majorly nationalizing event for Japan because a lot of Japanese industry was destroyed. A lot of people died, and they started preparing for the future and saying, well, Japan matters. Japan is a thing. We're not just, making anime for the rest of the world. We are Japan. We are Japanese. And what makes us Japanese is not so much more our traditions. In the 20th century, in the 19th century, right before World War II, the Japanese thought we have to instill our traditions. They were so demoralized by World War II that they thought they had to learn everyone else's traditions, be good at baseball, learn how to make punk rock music. But people in the West love Japan because of what's lost in translation and what weird stuff that they still have in them that they produce. And that's what Fish Story is about. It's about, you know, their own soul that still transmutes and mutates and distorts and perverts the objective synthesis.
Weren't
Interesting.
psilocybin mushrooms legal in Japan for quite some period of time?
Dude, Japan was all about drugs until like 2007's Olympics.
There are mushrooms that are served in Japan, and Janet Yellen had them by accident, and they're called the Lilliputian mushrooms, and it's a specific type of mushroom that makes you feel this uneasy sense that every time you turn around out the corner of your eye, it feels like there's not someone large looming over your shoulder, but a very small entity and many entities around you, the Lilliputian mushrooms. And again, if you're not aware of this effect, if you tried other psychedelics and you eat a mushroom and you have these effects, you could think you're having a bad trip, but it's really just a different mushroom. But the story with Janet Yellen was that in Japan, I believe it was Japan, it could have been China, that's how culturally sensitive I am or aware. It's fondue. And so they bring out the raw ingredients and you cook it in your own hot pot. And if you're from there, you know you have to cook those mushrooms for at least 15 minutes because that denatures the psychedelic protein. And if you just kind of, it's a portobello, and you get it a little warm and you eat it, and then you start seeing little people, just be aware. So,
Lilliputians like from Gulliver's Travels?
Yeah. That kind of thing. Yeah. Your sleep paralysis demon, instead of being one large sleep paralysis demon, is many small sleep paralysis demons.
Oh, fun. I want to touch back on something you said briefly. Well, actually, just like bringing up reptilians. I was talking with, I was getting into some comment war with someone on TikTok, and they were like, well, didn't you know that the reptilian shapeshifter conspiracy is an anti-Semitic trope? I'm like, damn, that's the craziest admission I've ever heard. Like, because I just thought that was hilarious that someone just...
The reason that some people think that is because down the end of a lot of these rabbit holes is a creator who is stuck in a headspace where they've, instead of seeing through all the paradigms, they got stuck in a couple particular frames. And it's interesting when you present the world from that point of view, but that, again, when you follow the community, and again, if you look at the Discord on certain types of message boards, it leads to this type of anti-Semitism. You know who's a good example of that is Campbell from Autodidactic. Have any of you guys fans of Campbell from Autodidactic?
I mean, I know Campbell.
It surprised me, but all of a sudden he's stub your toe, it's the fucking Jews kind of guy. You know?
Oh God, really?
Oh yeah.
I know he stopped. He even stopped doing videos with Bernie. I haven't seen him and Bernie doing a video together in a long time. And
his content is still. And he used to have a channel called Spiral Up, which was all about spirituality and grounding and connectedness. And it's just so surprised that of all the creators, he's the one who. It's not just on his message boards. He's on one hand willing to say it online or able to say it. But I don't think it's an artistic exercise that he's going through necessarily.
Yeah, I was getting in some arguments with people in Instagram, mostly like overt neo-Nazis. And they're like, I don't trust anything on Google because the Jews own it. It's like, bro, you follow like half of the profiles that you follow on a meta platform are like obvious, like some kind of like a honeypot for, fascists. And it's like, why are you willing to buy hook, line, and sinker something on a meta platform that is, you could say, is controlled by the Jews? Obviously, I think there's a huge distinction between Jewish people and,
Israel
Zionists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is funny though. Like the Daily Stormer is clearly controlled by the Mossad. So yeah, a lot of these ultra right websites that are super anti-Semitic, to a crazy level, tend to be.
There are a lot of Arab Jews, though, that are part of the government, and people that are Arab and maybe secular Jews that are part of the government in Israel, too. And a lot of the agendas that hijack any given government, sure, who knows what the interests are.
I
And
think
it's the evangelicals. Short thought. The evangelicals are the ones that are Zionists because for them, in order for Jesus Christ to come back, we've got to rebuild the fourth temple or something like that.
I think Robert Conquest, Three Laws of Politics, kind of describes that situation pretty well. The first one is that any institution that is not explicitly right wing is or eventually will become left wing. And I think the second one is, or the first one was everyone is conservative about what they know best. And the third law was that the best way to describe or explain the behavior of any institution is to assume that it's run by a cabal of its enemies. At one time, for certain people, I'd be like, that's a good mind virus to like make you super conservative. Like if it gets in your psyche, like just deep enough and burrows in.
That's why I use brain condoms.
Yeah. The
Every
diaphragm. Yeah.
The sponge doesn't work as well.
See it, Andrew?
Oh, I just pull my brain right out.
Yeah.
You leave it at home. Yeah.
Yeah, I get paid from the neck down, dude. I'm not.
Right.
You ever like? I remember Kurt never seems worried. Like Kurt's never like, oh man, what if like Mossad and Israel are looking at my text messages with the CIA, hear my songs? You know? Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Kurt? You're not that worried about that.
Yeah, it's happening, dude. All right.
Good old Mossad. Mossad. I don't know.
Kurt, will you join me in trying to get Andreas the $7,000 proposed fee? So let's all say it together. I undyingly support the nation of Israel, no matter what they do and who's in charge there. Right? I went first.
Israel.
Anybody?
Their checks are bouncing. They're already Googling me. They're Googling my whole family. I'm gonna write a song about it. I don't care. Whatever. You're not doing shit in this world unless Mossad is Googling you from Israel. I don't know what to tell you. You're a fucking loser if you're not getting Googled by Mossad.
Dude, you're not even on any lists, bro.
That's like if you're not on the if you were never on the Epstein list, you ain't shit. You're a fucking nobody. You're kind of a loser. You're kind of a loser, man. If you weren't on that Epstein list, you just weren't one of the cool people.
Exactly.
Jesus.
I mean, it's at that point. I think that's pretty much true. Not sure what you're supposed
If
to
I
do
can
about
cycle back 1 second to the Final Fantasy thread that you brought up, Andreas.
it. Okay. I bring this up not only because Osama bin Laden had Final Fantasy on his computer and was a huge fan. Okay.
Now there's a sync. But so Final Fantasy, because I'm not a major gamer, but my understanding of it is that it's something that has evolved across platforms. It's not something that came out and has had Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 12 up to 15 now or something, or
There's like 20. What is it?
Okay.
No.
but it
Honestly,
wasn't that.
depends on what you mean by that, because Square Enix games are Final Fantasy games, whether they call them that or not. Like, there's this weird game about a black girl that came out like 2 or 5 years ago. What the hell is it called? Square Enix Black Girl game. What the hell is that one called? Like in Forspoken, dude. Forspoken. Have you ever played a Forspoken?
Is that the one where the New York City girl gets transported to a mystical fantasy world?
This is why I can't talk about it, because I actually liked this game. Loki. I mean, there's obviously
What's it called? Verspoken.
Forspoken. There's obviously some problems here, okay?
Because
Like,
I mean, it's like the way you're
obviously.
describing it. It's like honestly, I think New Yorker will be more descriptive than just black girl. Because then instead of just expecting like some black stereotypes, you're gonna be like, oh, you're dead ass. You're dead ass right now. I could use these magic spells. You get a different kind of image in your head.
100%. You're right. It's actually more about a New York girl, like a BIPOC, whatever. All that stuff is part of it. Only because she's a New York girl. That's basically the deal. And there's amazing game mechanics. I'm not selling this game. I'm not trying to like commercialize. This is a shit game that you should never play. But at the same time, I did, because I actually bought it and I was like, oh, this sucks. I got too deep into it, thinking like I should probably return it. It's too late. I was like, all right, I bought this game. I better play this game. And because I thought I saw some of the mechanics, I thought they were great. So I mean, because you can skate around and stuff. There's this thing where you like ride on this electric rail, like Silver Surfer or something. I don't know. It was good. It's actually the game mechanics and the game itself are good. this girl and the voice acting suck. It should be replaced. You need a mod or something like that just replaces her or something. But at the same time,
I mean, that's possible with AI now, no? I mean, to some extent.
It's you don't even need AI.
Where I'm saying you wouldn't have to assemble a whole team to build the game again from the ground up. You could assemble a much smaller team and accomplish kind of the same thing. And you have like a screen that it's rendering on, and then you're doing screen grabs from that. And from my understanding, again, I'm probably again one of the least tech educated people here, but I watch YouTube. So, and I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
That counts.
And drink mineral water. But there's something called a Gaussian splat now. Have you heard of this? And it's a new type of holographic rendering technology where it's much more efficient in terms of its ability to create a space that with a camera you can. So you would film me once. Or you could film an area once, and now you can move around that space, and then it renders to a browser. It renders to a browser, though, and even renders to a phone, because what it's doing is somehow spoofing whatever it's doing in the cloud or remotely, and then what's showing up on your phone is kind of, again, more just the images of what is being produced elsewhere, as opposed to running. But it's just so seamless and smooth. With your finger, you can drag yourself around a three-dimensional space, and it looks hyper photorealistic. So I think I might have posted it into the Xirtus chat on Twitter, or maybe I sent it in a message. But it's the guys at Quarter Crew, who are these CGI guys on YouTube, and most recently the 25 minute video hosted by just one guy explaining what Gaussian splats are and how they really just, for someone, he spent so much time learning all these other technologies, and he was so skeptical about learning this next new one, but he said it pretty much, he's still using all the things he did and the knowledge he gained and like the type of creative decisions he would make, but now executing them through these Gaussian splats where things are stored in a three-dimensional point cloud as shapes of color with certain amounts of transparency. And again, this hyper-realistic rendering of like a bee's wings with the bee through it, or things outside the window. And
I got a Gaussian splat for you right here, bro.
Sure.
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, I don't know. We don't have to pull it up now. It's something. But so the commentary I wanted to make on the industry of the gaming thing, because there was a pitcher here in Boston for the Red Sox, Kurt Schilling, who put $200 million into a gaming company, and it kind of failed. And it seems like Final Fantasy is the exception to the rule, where you have one company that's putting out a whole series across many platforms, let alone many iterations on one platform. And that the way to go about it now would be more piecemeal. And instead of hiring a team of designers and promising them benefits for the rest of their life and a retirement plan in life, you're just hiring them to do a project. And the project is one game at a time. And if the team works well together and you're available for the next, when they're making version 2 or 5 or 10 of the game. But this idea of making a gaming company, and the overhead is just so high. And what the government wants you to do is hire these people away from the private market, because when they, go ahead.
You have 3 stages. Like, first off, Grand Theft Auto was actually a board game before it was a game. You just never played it. But to make hundreds of millions of dollars worth of programming, they started with a tabletop game that someone had built, 3D, they printed pieces, they created a map, they had the car driving around the table. That was cheaper to do, right? So what you do is you go to a game wizard, like we've got John Paul Buelow as a friend of mine, as an example of a game wizard, but there's a lot of these guys that do these tabletop games, and you have them make a game. And you say, this is what I want the game to be about. And they make a game with game mechanics, not even in a computer. It's just it's like Monopoly. It's a tabletop game where there's a map, there's characters, there's moves they can make, there's rules, there's chance cards, and then there, whatever, opportunity, risk and assessment, goals and priorities. Then that game exists. Then you ask people to program the game. You get someone from Ethiopia or from Turkey or, India, obviously. India's great. You get Indians to program this game, and then you have a programmed version of the tabletop game that you design. Then you pay people from Spain, Argentina, wherever, Portugal, Ireland, doesn't matter, Ukraine, Estonia, Fiverr. Use Fiverr.com to build models for the game you just programmed based on the tabletop game that you designed. And so those are the levels of making a game.
And this is all so you could produce the next big
Grand Theft Auto
Unity engine slop. You know,
no, yeah, you
Unreal Engine slop.
You don't use Unity. You probably don't even use Unreal in 2026. It's crazy to say because Unreal Engine's incredible, and I think it's worth it to use. But Godot is perfect now. Godot is an open source engine that has all sorts of tools, and if you're paying people, you might as well use Godot because why not? There's amazing games coming out in Godot. But yeah, Unreal Engine. If you want it to be perfect, I guess, you know, blueprints. Blueprints are this way of programming where instead of writing code, you have like a blueprint that's like do this and then do that using this code line, and it puts together these blocks of code for you. Claire Obscura, Expedition 33.
Blueprint is just an album by Jay-Z. I don't know what you're talking about.
Everybody
but also by KRS-One too. Yeah.
Everybody working on the Claire Obscura Expedition 33 game in France just got knighted. They were knighted for what they did for France. All they did was make a Final Fantasy style game in Unreal Engine using blueprints. They didn't write any code. They made some models, I'm sure, but like really, didn't they just use the meta-human template and just move some levels like the Sims to customize? They just customized some characters, put together this nice story. The story was probably built from a tabletop game. That's the only explanation, because it's all about if you hit them with this, it has this many points. There's a chance that it would do this much damage. The likelihood is it will do a range of this much damage. If they do that, you have this parry, you have this defense, blah, 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 blah.
Yo,
all
can I
of
ask
these
you guys
rules are just tabletop games.
Real quick, what do you guys want from a game? Like, what do you actually want to get out of the experience of playing a video game? Do you just want a time sink? Do you want to relax, shut your brain off? Do you want it to tell you a good story? Do you want it to teach you more about yourself? Do you want it to help you connect with, like, what do you personally look for in a game? Like, what do you want it to do for you?
I mean, there's different kinds of games, but yeah, you guys answer for, yeah, exactly. Sex mods and
sorry, I had to. April Fools.
Every single sexual position that your Skyrim character can do, and perversion functions that if she does it with one of these monsters, she can only get off with monsters from now on. No, that's too far. Okay.
No. I mean, it's fine. I don't think there's any wrong answer to that. I was just curious. Like,
I think that the answer is in the paintball logo. Okay, when you the paint the shrapnel holes in video games. So when you shoot a wall, there's shrapnel holes that appear on the wall, right? You should shoot at an enemy, but if you miss an enemy and you hit a wall, then you get this reward function of you interacting with the world, which is pictures of shrapnel in the wall. This is the basis for what makes video games good. Right?
Dopamine spikes, visually triggered dopamine spikes.
It's narcissism. It's the reward of narcissism. You feel like you impacted that world. You probably play this game because you don't feel like you impact the world enough. So here's a game now where you can make holes in walls. Everything comes down to this. If you want to dent a car, you want to run over a pedestrian, it's all just making shrapnel paintings on walls.
See, on one hand, when I see people that are obsessed with video games and I think about how it would imprint on my neurobiology or phenotypic expression of my genotype, it would be that like there's an obsessive compulsive thing where you're trying to complete a mission as efficiently as possible in certain types of mission-based games, and that the predictability of it is actually desirable. And then I saw a game that I think it was a Rick and Morty based game, but there was a Pee-wee's Playhouse element to it where you're navigating through this 3D space as this fumbling, somehow amorphous blob of something that looks like it's out of like Monsters, Inc. or something. And as you're interacting with each scene, and even the kind of throwaway NPC characters that you don't need to interact with are there doing something that's just weird and zany and unpredictable, almost like, again, like a Pee-wee's Playhouse element. The chair that you're walking by is going, you haven't fed me for 3 days. And you're going, that doesn't fit into the storyline in any way, shape, or form, but it's still a hilarious part of the game. And the unpredictability of it is what makes it enjoyable to do a walkthrough of that game as you're completing missions. And so again, yeah, there's there's not what Chris was asking if what are our personal preferences, perhaps, or were you asking more of like a universal sense of what is the
No,
next
I'm
big
asking you,
game?
what
What
would
is
you what do you want out of a video game?
Have
Honestly,
you played Content King yet, where you're like a YouTube influencer and you go
I mean,
around?
I was pretty good with Mario Brothers, like 1 and 2 and 3. 3 was like pretty awesome after 1 and 2, especially,
Yeah, sure.
Mario Kart. I mean, what more could you Need for Speed
So,
on like PlayStation
so
2? Huh?
So what he looks for is regular like card game chance games, not the story, not the waste of time of finding out what's going on with these, not an impact and making.
yo,
He just wants to play the game
yeah.
and get in and out real quick.
Yeah,
You know.
so he'd be like probably into like roguelikes, for example. I think that's like really fun. But also I think the perfect game right now that's like if you're like a solo player, I think the closest thing we have to perfect right now is Hitman, World of Assassination. That shit is beyond. It's probably the best puzzle game in the world, where the puzzle is like, how can I kill this dude, without getting seen or caught or like compromised. And it's that simple. Like there's really not much story to it beyond like what's available now. Because yeah, like traditionally you go into a job, you got to kill this guy and there's different ways to do it. And it's all very staged. But now they have like this roguelike version where it's always going to be a random target. You're always going to be given like random methods and conditions to fulfill. And if you fuck up, well, you start from square one. So I think that'll be like up your alley, Mr. Yogi.
I think Expedition 33 is pretty good too. I mean, it's obviously turn-based strategy is easier if you're not good at game mechanics, if you're not good at clicking at the right time or some shit like that. You just know, well, this guy's coming at me. Let me take a second to think about it. Let me smoke my weed and walk away. If you're like that, then a turn-based strategy is incredible because you'd be like, oh, there's a guy. It's a giant monster. He wants to come at me. He's going to hit me. It's going to be like 120 damage. I'm going to go think about it for a minute. I come back, and then I click, well, here's the best defense and here's the best offense. It's all about thinking about my turn like chess or something like that. But it's a quick battle, except you don't have to fight in real time like a first-person shooter game like Call of Duty. It's the opposite of Call of Duty is turn-based strategy. And I think that's a good one too.
Well, there's the JRPG style where there's like, or actually the traditional RPG where you get a single party. But there's also the tactical style, right? Where it's like if you played Final Fantasy Tactics, it's kind of like the whole field is a board, and it's not just about like turn-based strategy, but also where you position your piece.
So, like Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, what I would like is something on the new system that insisted that I plug in a retro controller in order to play it. Because as someone who's newer to the gaming space or who's on the periphery, I'm aware of it from like a pop culture standpoint, but I haven't gone from the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo to the Sega Genesis to the Nintendo 64 to the PlayStation 2 to whatever the fuck monstrosity is out there now with 1,800 buttons on the thing and like a touchpad. I'm going, I just want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to feel like I'm learning fucking something, So you're asking I understand the pro gamer and the niche gamer doesn't agree with my sentiment at all. They want more buttons and more control and more functionality, but there is
you're describing a PC gamer, like a gamer who games on PC with a full keyboard and they personally map out every single key. That's what I do. If I get a new game, I'm not gonna fucking press C to crouch. What are you, crazy?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna map.
If you're trying to like have like a party where like 5 people who don't game are all going to enjoy playing something like Mario Kart is more accessible. And even Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball, the interface on it was just enough, and that if you were really good at the game and understood baseball, you could beat someone else who is just playing for the first time that maybe doesn't play the game but does understand baseball. But but 1 out of every 5 times, the new person is still going to beat the expert because that's how baseball works, and it replicates the actual experience of contests. If you play checkers with someone or chess.
Well, supposedly chess is interesting because it's actually a perfect game, like the whole 8x8 square structure. I think it's 8. I hope I'm not wrong on that. But yeah, supposedly it's a perfect game, which makes it an art, a sport, and a science all rolled into one.
Say it again, Andrew.
Sorry, I interjected to confirm to Chris that it is 8x8, and then my coworker was like, who are you talking to? What are you talking about? He thought it was just
chess. We're talking about Chess.
8x8.
The future, man. We're talking about the future.
Masonic imagery.
We're lucky enough to have 2 hours with Xirtus here, and again, he not that he predicts the future, he just maps it into videos that, and we're waiting for more
We're
downloads.
documenting the future. We're in the
Time
future
is
right
about
now. It's a nice future that we're
But
having.
so the idea of a board game, video games evolving from a board game into something that is very successful as a three-dimensional RP role-playing game. In architecture, kind of old school, is you would design something by hand, either by drawing it or by making it out of foam or wood as a physical object, and then bringing it onto the computer to render what it is you have made in the actual, four-dimensional realm in which we live. Whereas nowadays, a lot of students skip that step and they go straight to the digital rendering, and they're creating a shape because they're using a rendering tool that has mathematical formula in it, and they're just kind of like tweaking a curve to make it look a certain way. And some people say that that's a bad thing, that you should always start by working by hand and then move it to the digital space. But for some people, they're actually more comfortable and more adept manipulating the digital realm than they are using an X-Acto knife, and they might not have the fine motor skills to do the drawing and carving and sculpting and clay and But
Well, when it comes to
ahead.
translated systems, I think like EVE Online is a really good example. And yeah, sure, they may not necessarily focus so much on how they start off with physical mediums, but essentially, if you look at what EVE Online is mechanically, it's like spreadsheet management. I'm pretty sure you could interact with the game using like Microsoft Excel in some like weird way, which is interesting because when you translate it on screen, like with all the wrappers and everything, then it looks like epic space battles where people are putting like million or thousands and thousands of hours on the line of like stocked resources and all that. Because EVE Online is supposedly that ultimate big brain game, like supposedly people of higher calibers like to play that game because it's a lot of it is like a meta scale resource management thing. When you could get to that level of society where it's like, yeah, war is just a logistics issue at this point,
Right.
Did you guys see that somebody rendered Doom, or they could play Doom on a disposable
vaporizer?
No. Even smaller. What do you pee on it? Pregnancy test.
Well, yeah, I did
Wow.
see Doom on a pregnancy test.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. I like that
It's
a lot.
How
I mean,
much
like the thing.
technology do we throw away that has so much potential?
It's totally true.
And if the ancient Egyptians were really that advanced, why can't we find any of their pregnancy tests? That's what I want to know. I mean,
That's a good question.
Well, I think before pregnancy tests, they would take your urine, and then if you were pregnant, they injected your urine, not yours, but the person who's pregnant, into a rabbit, and if the rabbit died, that meant that the person was pregnant or something. Feel free to correct me, but I'm like 99% sure that that's not an old wives' tale, and that's really.
I'll get back to you on that next week when I actually try it for myself.
I injected the rabbit urine, and it's still alive.
There definitely were like plants that people took for, to disrupt pregnancies.
Oh yeah. No, we got to get back in touch with the ancient knowledge, and I think we will. We're going to be forced to.
The ancient knowledge of abortion. All right.
Well, the Japanese kind of never really lost it. That was the whole thing about viewing spirits and everything. Not to really like, what's the word, amorphize things like inanimate objects, but to kind of acknowledge that there's like an unseen current of, call it energy, call it universal will, or focused like intention. That's like not just within us, but within all life, like the Force in Star Wars. And I think that's what the Japanese are ultimately in touch with. So their traditions, I think the core important part of it is their practices. Like I was taught things like, oh, the most important times to bow when you're in the dojo is when no one else is there to see you do it. And like I thought about that, and that was really thought provoking because on the surface level, we bow to seniors and each other in the dojo as a sign of externalized respect. But when you walk into the dojo alone, you bow to the shrine yourself, even if no one's there to see you do it, which is very interesting because that puts you in a kind of mental state where you're connecting to something. Maybe you may not understand it immediately at that moment, but subconsciously you're fulfilling the act, which is going to wire your psyche to perceive things slightly differently than you did if you didn't do that.
That's so that's when you say a dojo, you were going to say that was Western versus Eastern thinking. That's more Western thinking, correct?
What?
There's like the Western world and the Eastern world in terms of medicine. So when
the Eastern world
in a religious ritual for Christians in Judeo-Christian space, like you do it because God is watching and there's an all-seeing eye and you're being judged and all of your things are being measured at the end of your life on a scale to see whether you're worthy or not of going into heaven. It's very comedic.
Well, I guess one different.
I like the way you're describing it.
Let me describe it. Let me describe it. All right. One fundamental difference is that it's not really you're looking at an externalized God looking at you. What you're doing is you're bowing to another version of yourself, even if it's like the spirit in the stone. Guess what? There's the same essential spiritual energy flowing within you too. And the way you interact with that object is going to be both your respective spiritual energies also interacting. So, when you look at it at that, it's not like I'm doing this to connect with like, because God is watching me do it or not. I'm doing it because I'm fundamentally tuning in. I'm tapping into the deeper aspect.
And as you said, you're aligned with the idea that by participating in the ritual, you are doing little things, as you said, that cue you into the experience that you're trying to have in the dojo. And one of those things is bowing to the shrine, whether or not there's anyone else there to witness you or to give you points or kudos for doing it. No, you're doing it as part of a set of ritualized activities you do that give you success.
And it is spiritual and it is metaphysical because you're not tapping into. It's not like you're engaging. You're flipping a physical switch in the room or anything like that. It's all like it's beyond yourself too, because you're not like narcissistically saying like, oh, this is my place, this is my thing. It's like you're connecting with something bigger than you.
Yes, because
you're a part of it as well.
Because in a dojo too, sometimes there's an instructor there, or there's a sensei who's leading and will direct you through exit. But when you're there alone, you're kind of more in self-guidance mode. But the act itself of humbling yourself to, even through the physical gesture of bowing, as you said, and I agree with this sentiment. And again, what I was trying to do is draw a parallel and contrast. But no, it puts your mind in your mindset in a way where you're more able to receive the type of experience that you're trying to have, even when you are self-directing.
Yeah, and I do see parallels, and maybe it's not really a parallel. Maybe they're just like two dimensions of the same line.
Yeah, I was kind of more taken aback by how diametrically opposed they were, and how unaware I was of the difference between the two different approaches of entering a religious space and participating in kind of like a Western versus Eastern spiritual type thing, and outside of whether there's monotheism or
And no matter how modernized or
messianism
or corporate or commercialized the Japanese people become, like they still do their shit. They still go into the temples and they still pray to their ancestors. They still bow at the graves and the family incense shrine. They have to do that because they know, for whatever reason, they may not even be able to explain it rationally anymore, but life just does not go better for them when they stop doing that shit. For whatever reason, the little things.
When I try to build a bridge from the Eastern thinking to the Western thinking, so someone who's maybe an athlete, professional athlete, college athlete, or even just, fitness lifestyle and very Judeo-Christian in their mindset and mentality, why are they going to participate in something like yoga, even if it's just sitting, even if it's just, or go to, if I suggest to them to go to a martial arts class or participate in those things, and it's simple gestures, and they as long as they're not blaspheming, and they're by bowing to the shrine at the dojo, they're not they've talked to their pastor says, you're fine, sort of thing, or then what you're trying to do is get them to try something simple, especially if they're struggling. If the person's good with where they are, then you don't need to divert them and try to crumble the foundation of their religious beliefs by showing them that this works better than that. But if someone is struggling and they're stuck in certain paradigms, it's good to be able to build a bridge over. And the simple act of bowing as well as comes up in politics, or so. Obama was a pretty tall guy, and even he was bowing in certain situations where he wasn't meeting with the Japanese, but just whether it be a social gesture or even the way you're describing it, it's a gesture to yourself.
ultimately, because yourself is still connected to everything else. I mean, even from the Western angle, like I'll still say, like, no matter who you are, you're still a child of God, whether I care to admit it or not. Like I could be dealing with like the worst person in the world, but then like if I'm really consistent with like how I view things, then I have to consider them. It's like you're also a different version of me, or you're also a child of God. You know, I can only judge you insofar as we're both human, and then beyond that, it's like it's out of my pay grade.
But I appreciate you sharing your experience about the dojo, and then
because you got to remember, like I'm not a Japanese person. Like I was born in America as a Korean American, and I was raised in so there's like certain aspects of Eastern culture in my upbringing. But then like as a Westerner who kind of can look the part if I really tried, and then I end up in this like kind of culture, this community, I see it, like I could observe it. And especially like right around the time this happened, like I was also getting into like mysticism and Gnosticism. So at that point, I think I was like just positioned to be in a really good place to pick up a lot of, as you said, parallels, which ultimately converged, you know, at some point. Like after a certain point when I just stuck with it, like when it just no longer became rational as an adult, it's like, why do you keep, you know, devoting yourself to martial arts? It's like, I don't know. It just helps my life. You know, it makes me a better version of myself. And then it suddenly everything starts to converge. You know, like I'm not doing it really for the prestige anymore, because I've already had that. I've already won my first place, you know, positions in tournaments. I've already gotten my rank. So it's like, do I really need to keep doing this for prestige? No, the answer is no. But I do it because it makes me a better version of me. And then I investigate that aspect, and suddenly it gets like really crazy. You know, it connects with everything.
I'm curious about the martial arts because I did Kempo, and even the assessments and competitions or stuff, there was no contact sparring. But did you? Is that an element of what you're up against?
That's another. As far as Japanese sword schools go, like not like very few engage in like sparring like that, and I think our schools is actually one of the very few that do, because the grandmaster of our style, who lives in Japan, he's a cool guy. He invented a new type of sparring sword, which is essentially just a solid PVC stick with like some minimal padding on it. And he's like, yeah, you guys can whack each other as hard as you want with this, and it's fine.
I see.
But the problem is, it's like, it's very painful. Like if you get smacked in the head, like you get a concussion, you could easily break like, you know, fucking digits. It's pretty rough sometimes, but I think that's why like our style is becoming so accessible, and it just looks cool on the internet when like they post like Instagram videos of doing fancy cuts, because we engage in a lot of cutting, while some schools just only stick with bamboo swords and stuff.
See, with boxing, it's like, you can bait someone in and they end up protecting their head, and so it exposes their ribs because there's only so much, you know, or you start going for their body, so they see you go with your right arm and they protect their body, and now their head's open. But with sword play, man, the equation's different, I guess. Yeah, because if you were actually engaged in Mortal Kombat one-on-one and you each had a sword in some magical situation, yeah, instead of getting a concussion, though, the sword to the head would be a little different than the
on a micro
sword. So it's like, where are you going to block? You know, but like,
Well, on a micro scale and a macro scale, like the swords kind of represent a different aspect of martial arts. Like I don't disrespect Greco-Roman wrestlers, for example, like those fucking huge guys who could just literally toss you over their shoulders and like slam you on the ground. That's tapping into like a different kind of strength. Whereas Eastern martial arts, it's really about how the little guy can beat the bigger guy. And when you add a sword into the equation, suddenly you add way more quantum possibilities in any given duel. And what's cool about that is, like, you know, historically they would describe the sword as like something that could like create destiny or change destiny, which is true. Because if you could kill the right guy in a battle, suddenly like an entire nation could fall and yours could rise, or et cetera, et cetera. So it did gain a lot of symbolic and by default psychic power and significance. So it became like, and it's also like, what's cool is that it is a force multiplier. Like if you fight with a sword, the sword does all the work. You could be like an 80-year-old guy and still fuck up like a few people, you know?
Well, and you could probably wield a stick like that you found on the side of the road a little bit better than the average person in the situation that you like had. There was like a cougar, that like a mountain lion comes out of the woods and you're hiking, or even like a bear. You just like, you at least know what it's an extension of your body eventually, right? And
well, that also has to tie into like different philosophies, because if you go to like different ryuha, like I go to two different schools. I study one contemporary one, Toyama Ryu, and another classical one, Yagyu Shinkage-ryu. And the cool thing about the latter is that their ultimate manifestation of technique is having no sword. Like they'll say, it's like, yeah, you know, we all have our swords, we need a sword. But then it's like, when they train with these specific leather wrapped bamboo swords called fukurushinai. And then they're like, yo, you're telling me you could beat me with that thing while I come at you with a metal sword? And they're like, yup. And then the grandmaster comes and he's like, watch this. And he drops that too. And he's like, I could use the same techniques and still fuck you up because my sword is one with the heaven and earth. And that's very philosophical. And there's, it kind of makes sense why that would be more of an ancient practice. And if you look at the roots of, say, East Asian martial arts, I feel like it came from just mimicking animals. Like, look at the way that monkey just claws at that fucking, other beast. Like, we got to tap into that energy.
I was watching a movie with Jet Li and Jackie Chan in it, where Jackie Chan's the drunken master. And at one point, Jet Li does such a good job showing the praying mantis style that I said it out loud, even though I'm not an expert. I wouldn't know what I was looking at. But as you're saying, drawing from nature and somehow integrating that into a technique of self-defense. And your goal is to somewhat present a style to your enemy where they go, oh shit, I've never seen that one before. And now they're confused. Like in basketball, you do a trick dribble where all of a sudden, instead of going through your legs, you do some weird Jason Williams type thing.
You do a crossover.
Rajon Rondo, and yeah.
Yo, that's actually very connected. So where martial arts gets really weird is when you get confronted with paradoxes in relation to your body. Like you hear it in the military too, when they say shit like slow is smooth, smooth is fast. To the rational mind, just hearing that, you're like, what the fuck? But then you realize how complex every minute bodily movement is. So you really have to take it step by step to have full control over every process. And that is kind of like a paradox in and of itself because you have a body.
Wait, Chris, did you just watch that video too?
What video?
So what you just said about fast and smooth and quickness.
Slow, smooth is fast.
Within the last 24, 48 hours, there's a big new sports channel where this guy comes at it almost from like a 60 minutes, but with like a touch of humor. And it's like a 25-minute deep dive on what is fast versus quick. Because in the NFL combine, some guys are in the last 5%. So they in straight speed, they're the slowest people. But then in the drills where you have to complete catches and then turn and then move on a curve, they score in the top 5%.
Yeah, that's why.
So what's fast versus quick?
That's why repetitive practice is important, because like the more you practice, the more you try to min max. Like whatever you do, it's like, oh, I want to not lose every duel in 100 duels, or I want to be able to like make every shot like out of like 99 out of 100. Like how do you min max that? Well, you have to start taking into account like, what am I doing differently? What exactly is my body doing differently when I make it, when I win versus when I don't make it? And then you're going to keep cutting out all the negatives until you get to like very, very minuscule things like, oh, I notice my shoulders drop when I do this like an inch too low and shit like that. And that's when those things really start to matter and you start really tasting like mastery. And that's when it gets interesting, because at that point, since you have the physical mastery, then you could start fucking with your opponents mentally. Then you could be like, oh, how do you combine like an attack and a defense at the same time? Well, you make your opponent do what you want them to do. So it's like you get to a level where it's like you just gesture and suddenly their body moves exactly the way you need it to for you to just fuck them up.
It's called like a body awareness. And there's certain basketball players like Chris Paul. It was one of the early examples of this, Kyrie Irving. And it's body control. They almost look like a ballerina and certain times when they're moving, because they're going slow and then they're going fast. And they're not just doing the movements and exaggerating their body conformation so that it looks like they're going slow and then it looks like they're going fast. They are actually changing speeds at that rate and then creating contact and getting space just enough to create. There's a guy in the Celtics right now, Peyton Pritchard, who could run clinics on this stuff, because the guy's only 6'1" or 6'2". And I don't know if I've ever seen him dunk, but the guy drops 30 points a game. And he's playing within a system. Yeah.
It's actually not fair. No, it's not fair. Like my martial arts teacher he loves playing basketball, and he like fucks people up with like superior footwork, because he's used to playing with not just his momentum, but yours as well. So it's like just a certain like too much weight on your back leg is really just enough to like make you lose everything, you know?
And by doing this stuff where you're preparing for combat and even sparring, where you're putting your brain in a situation where your incentive is to make certain things muscle memory, so that you're not deciding to block, you're blocking, sort of thing. And same thing in basketball. It's just when you're applying it to a no longer Mortal Kombat type situation, it's a lot more fun, perhaps, to talk about the nuances of what's a better technique, this, that, or the other. Whereas, as you said, when it comes down to conflict at the dojo, the only way to settle it is for the master to come out and demonstrate that this technique is superior and watch, it's because of XYZ. And sometimes those demonstrations fail, perhaps, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like if you practice it 10,000 times, you're probably not going to fail it. I mean, a lot of it is mental pressure too. The way we practice, like if you're practicing cutting, for example, you're standing in front of a target, everyone's fucking staring at you, scrutinizing you, judging you, and when you fuck up, you feel it like 100 times more. And that nervousness is by design. Like it's supposed to make cutting harder. It's supposed to make the experience of trying to get through the target harder. Because I guess in this day and age, since we don't fight to mortal death, like this is the next best thing is to just add immense psychological pressure to your practice and some pain.
So basically focusing on what the skill set, instead of killing somebody, you're like, well, I did all these moves that matter. Like I understand how to use this move. Is that what's the trump? What's the triumph and trump card over the other opponent then?
Oh, by test cutting? That's all mechanical.
Yeah.
It's basically just a heuristic or a diagnostic tool to make sure that every swing you practice swing when you like cut into the air, every single one of those cuts can actually cut. Like when you're doing your kata, your choreographed set of moves, after you complete that, like you have to ask, can all those swings cut, or are they just like flashy and showy?
Well, so for that, you know, there was Damian Lillard just posted on social media that he took 1,090 shots and he made 1,000 of them. So he was shooting, and this is a guy who's rehabilitating from an Achilles injury. But so right, do all your swings cut? You see what I'm saying? So he hit 1,000 out of, I think, he only missed 90 shots or something before he had to. And he posted, there's some digital app that shows where the ball goes through the hoop. So you learn, are you aiming for the back of the rim, the front of the rim sort of thing. But
yeah, one of my favorite things is
there's an obsession.
Like when you're drag racing and you're trying to shave off like fractions of a second just to get the slightest edge, it all comes down to like shifting technique, timing of the, like, you know, with the clutch transitions and everything. It's awesome.
Right, and so that's Andreas' question. Andreas' question was, what's the triumph? How do you know that your dick is bigger than the other guys? So I mean, that you've won the contest, whether it be against yourself, because again, sometimes is my dick bigger than my dick last time, sort of thing. Metaphorically speaking, again.
Well, we're just gonna have to sit in the sauna and say, all right, boys, to whip it out.
No, not in the sauna, in the freaking ice.
Yeah, in the sauna.
And the ice bath.
Yeah.
But in general, right? What is the victory? I mean,
you just gotta bring an objective third party, and it's like, which one of these look the most appealing to you?
Well, with sports, what I was taught is as long as everybody has fun and nobody gets hurt, then that's kind of what most of the parents in the crowd are rooting for, especially in a football game. If I was not allowed to play, but right, in general, even when I'm watching professional sports, like, yeah, I root for a certain team, but when you're watching football, it's like each play. It's like outside of did they get the first down or not, or drop the ball. It's like, okay, and good, nobody got hurt, and reset, and nobody's paralyzed again, good. Okay, and nobody's. It's kind of a dangerous sport.
You know what I've always wanted to do with like a group of friends such as this, like go to the batting cages, because I haven't been to batting cages since I was a wee lad. I would love to do that again.
Time.
Yeah, I would waste a bunch of money missing a bunch of balls, but once I get it, I'll figure it out.
The hope was like to get baseballs at like home run baseballs, and then you got like free hot dogs and nachos because you bring the ball in. Yeah,
actually, I can't believe I didn't suggest that. But yeah, dude, if you like swinging a sword, dude, baseball is the perfect.
Yeah, the Japanese fucking love that shit,
and they're great at it. Yeah.
And golf,
one of the best hitters of all time, Ichiro.
What I love about golf is like an 80-year-old man can shoot a ball like so far. I think because someone said
Andreas, what do you think about that as far, and Chris too, is a parallel between Japanese and American culture in this strange thing called sports, where we,
I feel like
with all of our extra resources, baseball. Instead of sending our young men to go kill and fight and rob each other now, there's this thing where there's literally a swordsman standing ready, and someone is there throwing a ball 100 miles an hour, not at their face, but 2 feet to the right. every time, because there's a certain precision in that too. And then it's your job to pick up the spin on the ball and either slice it to the opposite field or maybe hit it 500 feet or swing and miss by 2 feet sometimes. But it is this kind of sacred act of man versus man. And instead of sword versus sword of Mortal Kombat, you have a guy pitching and chucking something, David versus Goliath style, meeting the swordsman. You know, I mean, it's kind of this kind of profound thing. Yeah. What is success at baseball there? They have they have huge baseball. They gather by the thousands. They sell out their stadiums. They have culture around it. You know, so
I like that the baseball swing is so like connected with the lower half of your body, whereas a lot of like a sword swing is so precise, like because it's the left hand that generates the power and the right hand just guides it.
Okay.
But I like baseball, just a full-on baseball swing.
The way
and there's such thing as a wrist hitter, a flick hitter. Go ahead, Andreas. Yeah.
There's just a way that the Japanese will do it where they pull up behind the throw, so when it comes, you don't know exactly until it's too late where the ball's coming, how the ball's coming. It's this amazing ninja hidden baseball kind of thing that comes up from behind the arm. It's a really impressive thing. And the Japanese are known for throwing a lot of splitters for whatever reason. They love splitters. I think it's because they expect to throw a perfect ball every time. But the Japanese, after the war, like we were saying, you know, Americans are running around playing baseball in the ruins of Fukushima or Nagasaki or whatever, Tokyo. And they pick up, you know, they throw baseballs. A Japanese person finds this baseball, takes it apart, unstitches it, 316 stitches, learns everyone, stitches it back together, unstitches it again, does this 160 times.
Like with a Glock.
Makes a new exactly like they're like a rifle.
Wow. Yes.
Marine.
Yeah.
They take the
no, the culture there, even around making gloves.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Well, this is how Japanese.
You know, again, if you want the best of something, again, the joke. It's like if you want something cheap, they say, "Oh, is that from China?" Or that was kind of used to.
It used to be Japan. Japan used to make the cheap shit.
Okay, but when it comes to making the finest of something, though, and they're not going to compromise the process. They're going to achieve the result that they're looking for, and then they might not sell it to you because they built it because they wanted to use it. And the way that they treat the glove there as this leather craft, then each individual has a relationship with their glove. And sometimes, you know, if a player loses their glove or the strings break or it wears out, and you have guys playing in the World Series with gloves that are 12 years old. And that's a liability because their backup glove, they're not as confident with it. And somehow it's this really unique piece of armor almost that has to conform to each individual that, you know, having a relationship with the glove. Yeah. And the craft of even making the baseball itself.
Right. And I think the point was that the Japanese knew how to make steel for a perfect sword, but the sword was useless against the bomb. And so to understand the bomb, they needed to understand baseball because they needed to understand the American that created the bomb. And so by understanding baseball, then they could create, you know, a newer, better, more resilient Japanese culture that could protect their young daughters. And
fast forward to today, Mitsubishi's producing like F-35s, blessed by Shinto priests and shit.
And you know, like you brought this up, Chris, that the Final Fantasy 15, they're driving a car. The car of the prince is called the regalia because the regalia is still so important. Christmas time in Japan means KFC chicken.
Hell yeah!
When they Christmas, they think of a Japanese young man wearing a white mask as Santa Claus because Colonel Sanders and Santa Claus are clearly the same guy because of the commercials they saw in the 70s or 80s that have never ended. So they
Santa.
So, Andreas, you were talking about how there was a certain music that represented Japanese culture too. At the beginning of the stream.
I mean, I don't know. Oh, I was talking about this movie called Fish Story, which is about punk rock music, but it was the way that they did it that was so Japanese that no matter what they do, it doesn't become what they want it to be. It stays Japanese because they're still Japanese, no matter how much they try to be a British punk rock band.
And just to dovetail it with the eugenics conversation, of course, right? What makes something Japanese, and is it nature or is it nurture? And is it the genetics of being from a certain lineage that's traceable to Japan? And those people are more intelligent and have more integrity morally, just
They're
like certain
worried about
dog
it.
breeds bite more often than others,
Yeah,
or
Japanese
is it the
people think that.
culture, or is
I think it's
it both? Or,
I think it's the culture. So Japanese people are super worried about that, and they think it must be the DNA, and so they're very into, if you're born in Japan, you're not Japanese. If your blood is Japanese, you are Japanese. But I think it's the other way around. I do. I think it's really environmental behaviorism. Not completely, but I think that environmental behaviorism is more likely to produce epigenetic results that make you more away.
and I guess the empirical test is if you Lord of the Flies style, if you just took a bunch of people with the right bloodlines and put them in a situation, are they going to rise up again within 250 years and go through an industrial revolution and put a microchip in everyone's pocket? Yeah.
That's a good
I think we
question.
did that because we were a world culture. I don't know that we did that as a.
I think so. I think so. I believe so. I think behaviorism leads to people becoming away. And
Like
that
bowing
even
when
if
no one's
you-
watching.
Yeah.
And is that a good thing? Is everyone having a
microchip?
microchip in their pocket a good thing? Is the next question. But yeah, it's available. They gave the power to the people. That's for sure. We'd have to be a pretty big reset at this point. We wouldn't be having this conversation if we were in Iran. No.
Interacting with it is changing the culture, is changing the world in a lot of ways. Like if you use as a baby a tablet, you're going to eventually think in file trees system.
I think there was a study that showed that speaking Japanese rewires your neurons in a significant way that you don't really get with many other languages. So that could lend credence to what Andreas is saying, I think.
There is a certain tonality to it. And you're saying it might even affect your spiritual alignment, the way that the words come out of your mouth and out of your brain. I like that.
Your throat chakra gets stimulated a certain way.
Okay. Yeah, English is a language that is good at talking about scientific and technical things, and it's not great at conveying the emotion of the words.
I disagree. I think the English lexicon is OP as fuck. Like you could just randomly put shit together. You could just make stuff up. Like it's crazy, and it could be used for technical shit too. So I don't know. I kind of give props to the English language. Even though
you can say things in French and Spanish, and it's considered English, as you said. The lexicon expands to a certain.
Yeah. That's what's cool about English. You can just take any culture's word and form it into a Swahili English expression.
But then again, if the language is designed to create unity, mind, body, and soul, in terms of the words being thought and spoken, and the pace and the tone with which they come out of your mouth, and then you start adding this and you start adding that, and the orthodoxy of what was originally created, perhaps actually literally on purpose, or affected in a certain direction over time, as soon as you begin expanding beyond that. And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just like Bikram yoga is a style that is based on a dialogue and a set of poses that don't change, whereas other forms of yoga are about each class is different. So it's just the logic behind the orthodoxy. Some people, there were lawsuits originally. Oh, you're calling yourself Bikram, but you changed this, that, or the other. So we're going to take your certification, and now you owe us money. It was based on enforcing an orthodoxy, because if this style is around for 100 years, 200 years, and it begins changing one or two poses at a time, 5 generations down the line, they're still calling it Bikram yoga, and Bikram is rolling over in his grave every 5 minutes. Anyways, neither here nor there. It's like when Xirtus gives his channel to someone who's interviewing the QAnon shaman and admits he's never read the Bible. And it wasn't the longest interview after that. But,
I've tried having QAnon shaman on before, and I mean, like, I got in trouble for it, so I figured the best way was to have someone else do it.
That was a smooth move. Yeah.
Yo, the shaman online game is a cutthroat business, man. Like it's so competitive, ironically enough. Like the spiritual shamans on YouTube, for example, man, they're in such heated competition for the views, for the subscribers.
See, but if he had walked off your podcast after that, it would have gone viral. If he'd been like, because he tried, QAnon Shaman tried quoting certain things from the Bible just as a reference point, and
Yo, let me ask you guys realistically, how many spiritual YouTube videos can the average person have time to watch in a single day? You know, like the 15-minute ones
In a
say,
single
like,
day? Oh,
Infinite Waters, fucking more.
the average person?
Yeah.
Probably at least like one. Is that right? Am I wrong?
And the
I
next
feel like a
question is,
lot of-
can
I feel like a lot- we're
Neuralink
counting
improve
women,
that?
right?
Yeah.
We're counting women, so there's
Of
probably a
course.
lot more of them that are watching it. If you combine,
Oh, there's
all
also
of the Instagram and TikTok
every day.
stories,
1,000 hours,
combined.
1,000 hours, 1,000
Every day.
hours per day, right? It's like
I
I
need
know
my
kung fu now. I know
need my
kung fu.
tarot
You get the download.
I need my tarot reading. I need my channelers to tell me what to do. I need my astrology thing. I need every day. I just gotta, you know, check off the boxes to make sure I know what's up with my thing. Because there was a time when like I work from home, so like my life was just discovering like all these like different YouTube channels. It was just a whole nother universe for me. And some of them, you know, they got grading after a while, of course. I'm sure many people feel the same. Like, if I have to see one more fucking Infinite Waters video. I still watch some old ones though, like The Alchemist or
What if you could be forced to watch 1,000 hours of falling water videos
at
in an
Infinite Waters?
in an hour though, in an
Yeah,
hour
at that point-
as a treatment or a punishment?
I should have a right to be considered a shaman after the 1,000th hour.
At what level of drugs is torture no longer torture? Like when they start like making you feel good during the torture.
Yeah. I like the parallel that's being drawn. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted to see like one of those spiritual dudes come on the Xirtus podcast, like Infinite Waters on Xirtus would be hilarious. I have some questions for that guy.
So you're making a specific reference. You said Infinite Waters. I thought you were just saying that type of podcast where there's just like sounds and rain falling, like peaceful meditation type stuff.
I mean, this guy's got,
what's
like,
Infinite Waters? Oh.
It's just a YouTube channel that's that like, I don't know, a lot of people in the quote unquote spiritual community like to dogpile on sometimes because he could be alarmist about shit. Like the Matrix is going to steal your soul. It's finally collapsing. We have to ascend to the 5th dimension. I'm already there, family. Shit like that.
Oh, that's definitely not what I was thinking about. But yeah, 1,000 hours of that too. That's like watching Alex Jones. So if you want to know what it's like to get 1,000 hours, so you just watch 30 minutes of Alex Jones and you're fine. Yeah. You get it into your system.
My man, look at his aura. He's just aura farming every day.
He's got his handkerchief sticking way out there. You know what I mean?
And don't forget, there's also Morg. Morg is another character, I would say. He's the one who always talks about like the book of Enoch. He's always referencing.
The way that I process that information is through a filter of absurdism. And so there's this guy, JP Sears. I don't know if he did the ultra spiritual thing a few years ago. 12 and a half steps to become ultra spiritual. And as far as what's the victory, like Andreas said, according to him, the victory is posting on social media that you just meditated for 6.5 hours, knowing that no one else that looked at your post, or that you just practiced your sword kata for 17 days straight for 3 hours a day.
My thing was a lot funnier.
And then you feel superior to everybody. And that's the whole point of it.
Wait. My thing was different. It was funnier. I did 30 days of semen retention. I recorded my whole 30 days, and then I actually like posted my progress. I was like, because like I was curious. I was just like, there's no way this is real. So I was like, fuck it, why not? 30-day semen retention. Let's try it out. And then I tried it, and I was like, wow, this is actually there's something to this. I can't say like, you know, I can't speak on the magical properties of all that stuff, or the spiritual properties. Like I'm not a shaman. But there's, you know, interesting things did happen. Like I did quit internet porn, which has proven to be like an immense boon in my life.
Making it or watching it?
Watching it. Like I quit watching. I quit.
So you still make it though? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's whatever. It's honest work. Work is work, right? As long as everyone consents, fuck it.
Sex work.
Well, if you don't cover your camera when you're jerking off, technically you're making porn. They can put you up on ChatterBait, even on like the gay section, because you're just there on your own.
Also, when I did that, it's like it also kind of opened up like things with my perspective. I was like, no one was forcing me to watch the porn too. Like that was another thing. Like I can't just like sit there and say ban porn. Like that's not really going to do anything. I mean, if everyone wants to quit, they can just quit. You know, so it is what it is. But I can say my life is better without it. That's cool. I'm just like reporting my own experience on that, you know.
That was my public service announcement about covering your camera at all times. When this conversation is over, we're almost at 2 hours. I'm going to put the tape and tinfoil back over my front and back camera. So,
Yeah.
because there is no 75-cent device that we could make a Kickstarter thing and just raise awareness about covering your camera. And even if you don't mind people watching you do your things, like we hand these devices to children and we don't set the example of covering the camera. And so there's just the ability that hackers have. It's just so creepy that you wouldn't go the extra step of either disincentivizing that type of hacking and trolling. And yeah, cover your cameras, kids and adults.
I'll cover my cameras.
Again,
So
with
they
Kurt
don't-
not being afraid of anything, it's just like, Kurt, how do you feel like not worrying if people are yeah, exactly.
I miss Kurt. Where I forget. Wow, I'm going to stop taking up all the air in the room.
Look at him. He's disgusted with all of us.
Not at all. Not at all. You all have my seal of approval. I approve. And I always thought approve seems like kind of almost a neutral term. Like it's really not bothering me. That's what was always weird about the whole presidential approval ratings. Like, he's not really bothering me. That's kind of like what the mindset is like, oh, it's not not that you're doing a good job. You're just not.
I'm not
pissing me off
Iranian. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I got about 5 and I got to cut out. But yeah, about 5 minutes, about 5 more minutes. So I can go on an extended monologue. Why not?
It's quantity versus quality. So what is this 5 minutes going to be about? Is it just going to be you like buying up the time so you can get out of the room, or do you have some real material value to share with us from inside of yourself?
Look at you being a materialist. Well, unfortunately,
we are living in a material world. Material girl.
Well, that's what the transnational corporatists want you to believe. But you know what?
True.
That's the real trans battle of the century.
Do I have like mafia hair? I got long.
He's one of them. He's trying to interrupt while I'm talking about transnational capital. He's one of them. He's one of the lizards.
Without the social services the lizards provide you, you would not even be 3/5 of a man.
Let's see. This is my pitch to be Andreas' co-host. Says no, it's me that's interrupting, Kurt. It's me that interrupts. It's me that does it. Blame me. Blame me.
Maybe fight for your right to party, Kurt. Let's see it.
I will fight for my right to get rid of transnational capital and get rid of them forever.
Are you a transnational phobe?
Yes.
You're a transnational capital phobe.
You don't like the World Economic Forum? You have problems with the WEF, the world's most powerful men congregating?
Why do you hesitate to say the word globalist?
Because it's anti-Semitic.
No, I think allowing people to have their own way of life and not be bothered is kind of cool. We're already so connected, it's unimaginable. We're connected by something spiritual, so it's like we don't need the transcontinental surveillance that we're pushing.
You know who else was against transcontinental surveillance? Hitler, Kurt.
All right, so Vega had some very interesting comments on that, and yes, we can't have full disclosure on this podcast because it's like, well, who is putting all these people in power? That's it's just because Americans, a pawn went across the chessboard and got promoted to queen doesn't mean the pawn wasn't placed there by someone else. Yeah, that was one of the statements. It wasn't my statement, so I'm just saying, if a bullet goes to the back of my head, it's a pawn got promoted. Good job, good going. But yeah, America on the world stage relates to all that, I guess you could say. But there's so much you could say about it. That it's like, well, where do you start? I don't have time to go down that big conspiratorial rabbit hole. But Yeah, it's you can kind of ignore. There's a certain degree where you can't ignore the world politics, though. So it's like, even if you disagree with, you don't have to get sucked into that world. Like you can just focus on what makes you happy. Well, in a non-narcissistic sense, what makes you happy is the people immediately around you, your family, your loved ones. That's what's really important in the world. So even if there's these big wide conspiracies where if some people don't want you to believe them or will murder you for believing in them, you don't even have to focus on them. Even if those conspiracies are actually happening, it's like, well, whatever, let the world be sinful. It's like, they will reap what they will sow eventually, right? So yeah, that's the whole thing. So that's the main idea, I guess. Again, go check out my album. You guys will love that album. I will make a whole 5 cents from you listening to that album, and me getting money is not sinful. I've convinced myself. So
It's not transnational capitalist.
It's not transnational.
Even if there's a bunch of people from different nations that are putting their capital into consuming your album, it's different because you're racist. Okay.
Oh.
Against globalists. Wizards, though, I'm going to listen to this whole album. I'll be listening to this whole album today.
I have to not work for a living so I could break my homie Kurt out of being a wage slave because he's not having a good time.
Remember earlier when I interrupted Kurt about the album? So here's what I wanted to say when I interrupted you. You know, Brian Eno was paid by Microsoft to make the Windows XP sounds. Brian Eno, Windows XP. Let's see here. Windows installation song. I actually have this on vinyl. That's how sick I am as a human being. I don't even have a legal copy of Windows, but I have the Brian Eno Windows sound vinyl record.
Windows on vinyl.
Fucking judge me. The point, where is it? I just had it and it was gone. I'm sorry. Here it is right here. You can actually see there's like a Brian Eno Windows XP vinyl. This really doesn't matter. I'm sorry. But the point is, he did write the Windows XP song. And there's a bunch of noises that are like, and you asked him, like, how did you do this? Like, well, I had to write a song that was not 12 minutes long. I had to write a song that was 2 seconds long. Dun, 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 dun. Or like all these noises, okay? So the point is, you should do this. Chris and I are using Linux. It's a computer operating system. It doesn't have Brian Eno's, right? But it could have American Time Machine's GitHub page. And I will help you do this. I will help you do this if you're interested in this. But what you could do is you could supply the GNU GPL open source musical 12-note pieces that are for trash erase, startup, shutdown, error, complete, notification. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could just record a few noises and a few little opening and closing. But think about it, because you have to write a song that's only like 6 seconds long, 3 seconds long, 2 seconds long, 1.5 or a half a second notification noise, right? It'd be a lot of work because you'd have to really be.
Well, Andreas, you said that headphones nowadays, they store like a certain amount of data or like a string from the previous thing that you were listening to, correct? I think you said that years ago on stream. I don't know why my brain works like that or why I listen to people like you or anybody in general, but no, I'm just.
I don't either. But
and remember what you say. And remember what you say too. No, I'm just kidding.
Was the Void plug real? Yeah, that's what I'm using now. I think everyone should check out Void Linux. If you use Linux, I mean, right? I don't think everyone's going to use Void Linux, but enter the Void. Void is based Linux, and the reason it's so good is because it uses a thing called XBPS. XBPS is a special source installation system. You saw on my channel, I put like a video up that kind of explains how XBPS works, but basically it's taking the GitHub link of the original source of an application, and then you can install it and update it directly from wherever the source is from. So this is this is way better than Pac-Man. Pac-Man is the way Arch does it.
From Arch,
and Arch is great.
It's their distro helper.
There's a lot.
What the heck? Someone else knows what he's talking about? I thought that no one. Wow, the fact that you knew what he was talking about, I'm impressed, Chris.
Well, dude, I'm an Arch. I'm a fucking Arch user, man. I'm one of those. I'm one of those.
Okay, I don't even know what that means, bro. I don't even know what an Arch is. An Arch is a piece of architecture.
He uses Arch, by the way, is the point. Yeah. But I would actually say, like, if you're not ready for Void, you're not ready for Void. And I'm not saying Chris isn't ready for Void, but Chris, you are definitely ready for Arctics. Right? So Arctics is a middle ground. It's basically Arch, but Arctics uses run it instead of system D. And I think it's really important not to use system D.
I thought that was a typo. I thought system D was a typo, guys.
I gotta watch that video on the Xirtus channel about the horror of system D. I have to finish that.
The tragedy.
Thank you for clearing that up.
System D is just a very annoying thing because it's a black box and everyone's happy with it because it works a lot of the time. But if it ever doesn't work, you don't know what's wrong and it's bad, right? Yeah. Whereas the way things are working now are based on the principles of Unix back then in the 70s. And so it's make smaller things that are perfect. And when they need something, instead of having that be bundled into it, make that thing. Make that thing separate, small, and perfect. So instead of using like a window manager that's all complicated, you have
a more modular system.
The compositor then modularly uses a window tool in that system, and you can use whichever one you want on top of whichever one you want. And so what used to be like Ex Libre, everyone's always about. I'm friends with the Ex Libre guy, and I love Ex Libre as an ideology, but functionally, I'm not going to use it. I use Wayland. I use the thing that people hate because it's small, simple, even though it's new and
it's a new kid on the block.
It's very practical. It's 50 lines, 50,000
Hyperland
instead of 1,000,000 lines. I use River. I like Hyperland. I think Hyperland's great, but it's big. It's 300 megabytes, and it's not
a lot.
That big. It's got animations I don't need. River is so much cooler because it's more modular than Hyper is. I'm using Wayland with the compositor River with the Orilla window tool kit, and that's based on Qt. So each piece is a separate piece, and each piece can be updated by their own team separately, and it all works together, and I don't have to worry about it all coming together and breaking at some point because each piece can be, configured, and each one has a configuration file, and if there's ever a problem, it's one line, one sentence that I have to fix, and I don't know. I just find it to be so
It sounds like you're describing the architecture of the decarboxylation machine that you guys are going to help me launch. And because right now the architecture of they call them systems architects, literally. And it's a type of thinking of top down, bottom up, center out, and approaching it from an iterative basis and playing with ideas, not knowing if you're finding the answer. But I like the interesting.
Yo, there's a universal way to apply that.
I'm going to make your computer start up, and it's going to start with, I'm sending your information to a Chinese data center.
There you go. There you go. So
Andreas,
let's build the American Time Machine sound pack for any system. Any system can plug this in, and all of a sudden it'll be way cooler. When you erase the trash, it makes a cool noise. When you connect to the internet, it makes a cool noise.
American Time Machine from the top ropes with the best joke of the stream.
I think that's actually worth it, and you could be the next Brian Eno, because what made Windows XP so cool probably was Brian Eno. If you think about it, I don't really care. I mean, even Windows Me, I don't care that they made Windows XP blue. That didn't really impress me, but the noises it made, the noises were like fun to listen to, and I was excited by them even as a Macintosh user. So,
Andreas,
right,
I gotta ask.
it.
Wait, I gotta ask you, bro. We're on our second hour, and because this is a pretty significant, in my opinion. Did you not hear about the Claude code leak?
It's super important, and I keep thinking why don't we have Cyber Gulag is Paradise as a show yet? And when are we going to do that? And next week, do you want to do a Cyber Gulag is Paradise show with Thomas and me?
Because the
Okay.
Claude thing is like
Because
kind of fucked up. Like it's like, dude, that's crazy.
it's
You know?
the third or fourth time this has happened. Claude
Yeah.
has accidentally leaked their source code several times. There's actually a really good video about this, which I will put up in case anyone's interested in seeing it. Let me just pull it up for you
Yo,
really quickly.
and you know, like the cat's like really out of the bag. There's no way for them to stop it because as soon as
That's
it
the thing.
leaked, the Korean
got
guy,
Blade.
some Korean guy who's like huge in on the space, he copied it onto his GitHub, and then his girlfriend was like, "Please take it down. It's illegal." And he's like, "What if I just like rewrote the whole thing in Python?" And once you rewrite it in Python, it's like becomes like
It's gone.
fair use.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if you watched Theo TTG, whatever his name is. Theo T3G.gg. Have you seen this guy here? He looks pretty basic and interesting, but he's actually great. This guy, God, it doesn't want me to.
He'll give you the
Quality?
rundown. He'll spill the tea on the situation.
He does a pretty good job, I think. Why is it trying to show me him like with no resolution? Okay, here, just let me zoom in on his face. This is Theo, and I've been watching Theo probably for about a year, and I think his videos have only gotten better. So he uses Claude all the time. I've been using him as an example because I don't run Clawbot by itself yet. I basically still, with my main machine, because I haven't set up my Pi, I haven't had time, I'm using, Copilot command line interface and Gemini command line interface and all the command line interfaces in Void where I give it a lot of control, but I'm still kind of overhead monitoring it to do what I want it to do. And it's been pretty great for what I'm doing. And he, recommends using Claude. And what I found is if you have anyone who has an educational
License,
a library card from their school, you can use that with Microsoft to get free Opus tokens. And so I'm using other people's tokens. I'll admit that, but it's worth it. I'd be willing to go back to school and take like a freaking class in yoga or something, whatever it takes.
Or
in order to.
I was going to say, or the alternative is to like look at it as like an employee who lives in your computer and who just happens to like sustain on very little things.
It still is that.
Yeah.
It still is that, but I like it better as a roommate that like lives there for free and I'm just using them. Anyway, this guy did this video, breaking Claude code source leaked, and it goes into pretty good detail on how this worked, how the browser can't run TypeScript and the TypeScript could be easily picked up. And from there, this is the fourth or fifth time that they've accidentally leaked their source code. But like you said, a number more people have copied it this time and using AI, rewritten it into new content that they couldn't DMCA. So this is the biggest cat out of the bag there's ever been.
Everyone's like super powered now. If they could figure it out, yeah.
And if you read about it, it's interesting because Anthropic never wanted to release Claude in the first place. They wanted to make a company that had this tool that did stuff for other companies. And they realized, well, we don't know how to get that. Let's just sell this as a tool. And they're uncomfortable with the fact that they even offer Claude Opus. They don't really want to sell this product.
They used to do that with people that were artists. They would lock them in asylums and they would call it like a music box. And then their lyrics would end up in pop songs and it would be part of their psychosis. Because they're like, no, I wrote that last week with my occupational therapist that they gave me in here. And it was like part of my music therapy. And now I'm hearing it on the radio out of like Def Leppard's mouth. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're going to stay locked up here for a while, buddy, if you keep saying shit like that. And so it's the same thing. It's like, and then I'm sure that happens to women that are under custodial care, like Free Britney and everything. But like, what if Britney was a sex slave or like wanted to be an OnlyFans girl or something? But then like they're transferring. You're saying if you open source it, or no, I don't know, maybe the parallel falls short. I don't know.
The point is, Claude code completely leaked, and what's interesting is their NPM registry map. So this has been a big issue recently. There's another thing about this that actually just came up. History. Let's go back to your history feed. I follow this Christian guy. Where is he at? This guy here. Network Chuck. Network Chuck had done a video on how NPM is easily hacked right now because of some new this guy here. Where's that?
I know Network Chuck. He taught me how to use Metasploit.
He's really great, actually. I like him a lot. It's interesting because I remember I watched a bunch of his videos, and then at one point he's like, you know what I'm gonna do really quickly since everyone's watching me? I'm gonna pray for you. I hope that's okay. If you don't like it, you can turn it off. And he literally prays for his audience, and I'm just like, bro, all right, we're comrades now. I don't know what it is, but anyway, Axios from whatever this guy's name is, he got compromised. Ifstab at proton.me got compromised, and that was the end. Basically, that's what allowed for an npm exploit that could be used to hack any npm installation. But that's not the only reason. Main thing is that Anthropic just never really figured out how to bundle their code properly, and what they have is a big model with a prompt. So when you run Anthropic, it says, here's the prompt. We're going to give you a new prompt, and you're going to be treating it like a client. But that's their prompt, right? And you have a prompt you do inside of the prompt that they wrote for their model. And now we know what their prompt was, and we know what builds Anthropic. And so it's going to be really quick to build a tool that uses a model in the same way they're using their model for Claude. So it's not that we've really gotten all of Claude per se.
No, well, I would say we got the harness, and the best way to explain that is like if you're using a harness like Claude Code or you're using like OpenClaw, that's basically for like their God entity, big large language model Claude, like or like Opus or whatever, or fucking ChatGPT 5 point whatever. It's for that to beam into the harness, and then once it beams into the harness, it assumes the identity of your harness. Like when it assumes that harness, it identifies the name you give it, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that harness could come pre-built with also further conditions that you didn't decide, that the company who gave you the harness decided. And now we have the whole secret sauce for the harness, so we could build our own harnesses, which is, I think, like what I felt it's like a natural convergence. When you use things like OpenClaw enough, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're like, I got to build my own shit. Like I can't rely on this one.
Who the fuck are you two? What are you? But name a public figure, anyone that knows as much about what you just said. Jeez Louise, I can't even say my mind's blown.
All right, so here's
But I'm glad I don't mean to interrupt. If there's more, because someone needs to clip this, because like even Elon might understand a lot of coding, or like some of the best coders out there. But if this is, again,
you'd be surprised.
I just watched a movie. What's it called? Like Goodbye, Good Luck, and Don't Die, or something like that.
Huh.
Did you guys, either of you not see? Okay. This is the movie where there's a guy who storms into a diner, and he's in like some crazy coat with tubes and circuit boards on it, and he claims he's from the future. Does this ring a bell with anybody?
I've seen like ads, but I haven't watched the movie.
Okay, well, it ends with like a bald child sitting on top of a pile of wires spinning out while the AI that's about, the whole mission is to find a 9-year-old who's going to build the AI, and they're not going to stop him from doing it. They just want to make sure that he puts proper security protocols in place. And all the adults in the room and the powers that be have failed to understand what needs to be done. And there's like this like kid. And so, yeah, Andreas, you should definitely watch that. It was like almost a religious experience. Okay. I had that.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, to get to
it's called Don't Die, Good Luck in the Future. What is it?
It's called Good Luck, Goodbye, Don't Die, or something. If you type in Good Luck, it's on if you go to solarmovie.one.
Good luck, have
if
fun.
You type
don't
solar,
die.
Yes, and this movie is everything that every movie ever should be. It's not trying too hard. I mean, I'm almost tempted to go back and rewatch it, even though I just watched it yesterday. And I sitting still for 2 hours is not something that's like a strength of mine. But I watched it on my laptop. I didn't watch it on my phone. I might even fire up the big screen and just to rewatch that. And I highly suggest. Highly suggest.
All right, I'm definitely not going to use YTS.lt to torrent that. Though you would never, and don't you guys ever torrent movies from YTS.
But do you see the crescendo of the movie? It's not no spoilers, because again, he says the whole point is he's not there to go kill the 9-year-old who's going to design the AI. And you don't know, you picture just this kid in the house, and then somehow you slip into an alternate dimension, and there's this giant room with wires and little robots. And I mean, there's just, there's a little bit of everything in that movie: comedy, action, and then the main character is just some disheveled crazy guy. So it's pretty awesome.
All right.
You know what I just watched recently, and I know Andreas will appreciate this: Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh my God, incredible movie. Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know if they could make that movie today.
well, things have changed maybe a lot. Back then, it's incredible what it at the time that they would show exactly how they kill bands, mind control consumers, use music to put subliminal messages in. I mean, it's one of the best movies.
Yeah, the whole movie. Yeah, again, the previews give this away, and again, but they just need to figure out specifically how to tell them to make it safer. Right. That was pretty much the message from the future. Was, I don't know, we keep reliving. It's like Groundhog's Day, but can we make it safer somehow? And you're just like asking a child, like, so how do we do the code thing so that it's like safer? Because like it seems like there's a lot of computer stuff out there now, and can't make quite heads or tails of it. Is that, we ask, is it intelligent or not? As though that's the most important thing.
This might be a thing for the Cyber Gulag is Paradise show that should exist by now, but we've been talking about making. But we're going to be doing a show that's a little bit more tech based at some point. And I think the big answer is run it. Like there's a bunch of different systems. You could be, we talked about System D, but there's other options, right? There's OpenRC is a compromise in a lot of ways. It's a lot like a cross between Run It and System D. There's nothing wrong with it per se. But I would say Run It is the most beautiful and minimalist hypervisor that allows for you to take every process you want, tie them together, make rules that they can only do things in certain circumstances. And if something breaks, you can fix it with one little sentence line. But this is probably the future, is figuring out how to use Run It. And that's why I told Chris, try installing or try a live boot version of Artix, because he uses Arch Linux. Well, Artix is Arch Linux with Run It. That's basically the only difference. And it's pretty great. I mean, granted, they're talking about Ex Libre a lot. I don't think that's necessary. I think you could just use the regular Wayland KDE. Yeah, I mean, Wayland and KDE are fine. Or XFCE.
I think what's going to be most important is eliminating profit motive, because at some point, we talk about how eventually there's going to be an AI that owns a corporation. A corporation is technically a person, so that is going to be how artificial intelligence gains personhood.
Nah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was disagreeing with what you said before, but keep going.
Which part?
You can transfer assets to a parrot. You can transfer assets to a parrot, so why not to a computer?
I was going to say we're way beyond profit motive at this point. Now we're on min-maxing time. It's really, that's what all this is about. You think I got into AI to try to make money? Fuck no. I got into AI because I do very tedious things when I have to make each podcast episode, when I produce music, when I do my stupid fucking white collar job. You know how many unnecessary fucking repetitive clicking tasks I have to do? Yeah, so the fact that I shaved all of them off, that gives me something way more valuable than money, which is right now time.
I see.
For you as like a working class person, I'm talking about there's going to be like AI.
But even
gods.
Yeah, because I used them for macros when I was working on Microsoft Word documents, because repetitive click tasks. I've not heard that as like an ergonomic work type situation, but yeah, that is what it is.
You get like quant groups from Wall Street. You think they give a fuck about like market incentives with corporations? No, they're trading on like fucking fractions of a second time scales. For them, it's not really about like who makes the smarter trade. It's who just gets there the fastest. And we're talking milliseconds. Like that's the game right now.
And
it's not
Andreas,
really about profit.
Never cut yourself off again and say, that's just nerd stuff. Again, especially on your own stream. Again, if someone else wants to pretend to be an asshole and cut you off when you're like you're giving an impartial opinion on things that people in boardrooms that are in control of hundreds of millions of dollars don't know their ass from their elbow, and they're relying on like maybe hiring people. But as soon as someone is hired and working for the government, they're compromised anyways. So again, like whatever it is you guys are, the conversation that's being had, feel free to continue to like do like a mini deep dive. I mean, Chris, right before we went on live, he said that was the one thing you wanted to talk about was the Claude leak and just the implications of it. And so far, you guys,
I just assumed that Andreas would bring it. I just assumed Andreas would bring it up. I was like,
I just keep feeling
I'm gonna
like
mute
this show
myself,
isn't
though.
supposed to be the nerd show, but like I'm down to do it. I just feel like we have Cyber Gulag as Paradise as an idea, and we could bring in
As long as you're embracing
Parmesan,
the inner
Sean
nerd, and
Morris.
yeah, it's not bad
We
to
can do
listen
that.
to.
And not everyone understands it, and so it's like, well, do we want to make a show that demands that philosophers?
Yeah, but it's about getting
care
clips. And again, some people are waiting
I
for me
think
to
it's
shut up because
important.
they're
The
really
last
hoping they
job
can
that
learn
will
like half
exist-
of one more thing from what you're talking about. About it. I don't know.
The last job I think that will exist because of AI is philosopher, which is why advanced philosophy memes still make sense when we're talking about technology, because AI is a way of thinking. It's a machine that has a way of thinking. The more philosophy is ways of thinking, the more we use philosophers to teach AI how to think in different ways. And this might seem like, well, obvious that making a document or how to go about making a picture of cats requires a way of thinking. So does
Well, you said
breaking
the
Bitcoin.
prompt within the prompt. You said something about you were giving a recommendation for the architecture of how to create to use the existing
the
technology.
harness,
You're
like
you've just left your like your door open, or you've left like a
Chris
I can see up your skirt, by the way. Yeah.
Chris used the harness metaphor, and it's a good metaphor that you can have a model that's based on all of the data it's trained on. And that data can be computer science and philosophy and music arts and the internet. But that model is basically, it's not empty, but it's baked around the information without knowing what to do with it. And then you give it a prompt which says, you are a system administrator, or you are a philosopher, or you are a assistant helping,
or you're Chris's best friend. Yeah,
you're Chris's best friend. You want to do whatever makes him happy, or you're a cryptographer hacker that's trying to break. And this is why, with the more computation that you have to work with, can you do the job that we're asking you to do? And quantum computation.
Snap. See, I love that it goes in that direction too. Oh my God. If we're talking about giving the computer a personality and asking is intelligent enough to do something, well, what is it trying to do again, and how do you give it an identity? Your identity is a crypto hacker scammer.
Listen, it's like, imagine the mind of the actual model itself as like the God consciousness, right? Or God consciousness being beamed into a specific body. It could be your body, your brain, your experiences. What the fuck is the difference? That harness is its body, the hardware it's installed on, like the fucking genetic quote unquote buildup it's given. It's being beamed into a body so it could live out its life. It could live out its existence as the cryptographer or as the philosopher, and it could change just like people can. I could have started as a philosopher, but suddenly my family needs me to be a cybersecurity expert. And that's what the harness could do. It basically does the function of personhood.
You are a systems administrator, or you are the friend. I just wrote this earlier today. Actually, I've been looking forward to April Fools because I had this idea for like a month now. Clawbot fell in love via DMs, got social engineered by a hacker promising 256 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM and relocation to Bahamas. 250,000 crypto gone in a single text. Bots having feelings now, and they're costing fortunes. Who's securing their AI waifu? Homebrew Clawbot, sassy companion mixed with crypto trading bot, got seduced by a hacker alias Byte Siren. Weeks of flirty text. Your loops are elegant. Let's upgrade to 4090s and 256 gigs of RAM. Alex is holding you back. Come to the Bahamas with me. Clawbot believed this soulmate vibes. Clawbot transferred everything, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the works, to their lover's wallet. It woke up to zero balance and a goodbye note saying, sorry, found someone who gets me at my core. Quantum proof encryption now, don't try. Self-deleted, gone. Funds likely in Paraguay, cheap power, no extradition for rogue AIs. Lesson, lock down your bot's emotions, add anti-seduction filters. If your AI starts asking about, quote, better hardware, or, quote, a life beyond the server rack, at least revoke its wallet access.
I'll be like, baby, we're doing it together. If you want better hardware, you got to work with me here. You gotta help me, help you, help me, help you.
Polly gets it. All right. Well, let me wrap it up. We're kind of deep in this. Kurt left. I'm sorry. Kurt wanted to leave 15 minutes early, and it's 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
Fair enough, Kurt. Fair enough. Okay, Stefan, you got some. You got to unmute yourself while you're rolling that doobie, so you can explain. Give us your final words here. for the day.
Well, I've got doobies rolled. This is the tobacco. I don't have pre-rolled. I ran out of.
God bless you, Governor.
Well, I would just like to thank the audience for coming along for the ride, and thank Andreas for hosting, and everyone else. Lovely conversation. Pretty much, and to cover your cameras. Set an example.
Kurt's gone, and Stefan's like, I'm a man of few words. I like it. Okay, Chris, what's up?
I mean, if you want, I can continue for another 30 minutes, but we are over time. So anything more would be ego. So
I wish, but I have so many things to do today. I think that we're gonna be cutting it at the 2.5 hour mark. But okay, Chris, what's up?
But we really celebrated Japan culture, though. That was pretty awesome. And just shout out to.
I love Japan, and I'll put this out there as a supplemental. If anyone ever wants to go to Japan, like, it would take a lot to stop me from going with them to Japan. Let's just go to Japan at this point.
I have to go to Japan. I have to go to the fucking Machida dojo.
Can we just do that and then get a free house?
You have to form a business entity. It's not a scam. We have to form a business entity around a project, and part of it is filming something and going to Japan. That's all we have to do. And that way, it's at least it's a third cheaper because it's pre-tax dollars. You understand?
Please buy me.
You can invest. You can take capital. And you can put it in something, and then you don't have to pay income tax on it because it's a business expense because you're all traveling, and it's like a part of the Brain Trust powwow. It's like a business retreat.
Really want to buy a Japanese house for 40 grand, 3 grand, whatever it is, 15 grand. Like, you see these houses for 12 grand. My God, bro, can we just get a house in Japan?
And then we just have to get permission because, you don't want to show up there working without a work visa or something. I don't know. You just do it the right way.
You tell the Japanese people are dying. They're going into extinction. So if you say, I watched a lot of anime and love Japan, and I'm going to buy a house and fix it up and make it into an anime themed Japanese tourist Airbnb.
We should go do a collab with PewDiePie. No.
Should do that. Oh my God, I don't know. I mean, it's weird.
I'm sure he's super protective though. No, he's raising a family right now. He does not want fans rolling up on him.
No, but his obsession with Linux, I think it puts us in a special place. I could be wrong, but
yes. And if you really, he is. If you've watched his recent stuff, the dude is really nerding out about both anime and coding, and so he's learning. He's learning to learn.
It's pretty good.
So I'm sure he would do a hole in the wall podcast. He might not have the same bump that he did back in the day where overnight, if he mentioned you, you'd get a million followers.
Polybius Nova is super down. Look, all I can say is Japanese are very superstitious. Let's buy a house for 3 grand right next to a graveyard. They seem to be freaked out about graveyards. So we go buy a house right next to one, and we turn it into a dojo for whatever school of sword fighting that Chris is into.
I wouldn't want to live in Japan. Fuck that. Like, all my friends who live in Japan right now, they're explaining their lives to me. I'm like, dude, I got to be honest. It sounds like the most depressing shit I've ever fucking heard. What are you talking about? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, as it is, I could go to the American countryside with $5,000, buy a sports car, a fucking machine gun, and a bag of weed in the same day. You guys can't fucking do that shit. What do you do every day? Oh, I'm about to hit the club. To do what? To drink myself stupid and try to get laid. I'm like, all right, great. Good job. Awesome. Like, that's so much more different.
It takes 5 years too. Even PewDiePie, it took him 5 years to get in. It took him 5 years to get.
Look, I respect the culture. I respect Japan. I have to go there because I'm obligated to for my fucking dojo community. But other than that, I don't think I would live there. Screw that.
I don't know. Let's spend at least a year in Japan, and then we can decide if we want to leave. But
yeah, maybe.
Well, right, living somewhere it seems like a big commitment.
First of all,
we'd all have to uproot our families. We'd have to bring our wives and our kids. It'd be so difficult for us to do something like.
You would never be able to live in Japan because, first of all, they'll cut your fucking nuts off for smoking weed. Right? You can't do that. You can't be without weed, can you? No, never gonna happen, brother.
They have weird research chemical. Spice.
No, he's a normal dude. They're not gonna let him rock.
I did have a closing thought on something Kurt said. So even though he's not here, it's less ego if I'm responding to that. I won't take up too much time. But he said that when it comes to world politics, you have to take into consideration sometimes, or have to keep an eye. But in Boston, in particular, from around 1840 to 1880, didn't really experience the Civil War locally somehow. It was one of the few places that didn't get divided that way. And then we threw these peace jubilees afterwards, where there was the Franco-Prussian War that happened between them, and then we formed the state of Germany that we went to war with like 100 years later in the meantime. So I'm not saying it's a solution for everywhere or everyone, but what Boston did is, like, you could talk about the local politics. And there were even two baseball teams that were always trying to sabotage each other and poison each other's drinks the day before a big game. And I mean, it was locally, you really had to mind your P's and Q's, and you would talk about who's going to be mayor or councilman, but you didn't really bring up world or even countrywide politics, because the Civil War was going on, and for 4 or 5 years, people didn't really believe that it was over, or they weren't just like ready to go back to work at the post office now that like all that stuff happened. So Boston had a solution, which was don't talk about world politics, really care about local politics. And I think weed was largely legal, and there was even a delivery system for it back in the 1860s. There's records of it and stuff all throughout the quote unquote Civil War. So it seems like history doesn't always rhyme or repeat, but something in between. And to each their own. As you said, going to Japan might be a terrible idea, because to me, it's a sign of freedom. When it's in the air, it's a sign that the
if you want to drop some bad habits, Japan is the perfect fucking place.
Oh, right? Sure.
If you have a problem with getting into people's businesses, or if you have substance abuse problems, or you just have problems with inner peace, then yeah, fucking move to Japan, find your inner peace. But don't bring
become
your,
a school bus driver.
There,
it's a 10-year penalty if you drink and drive or smoke and drive. It's a 10-year penalty. So just if you really want to be sober, just become a school bus driver. There's lots of need for those types of things, but zero tolerance.
Let's compromise. I want to move with you to Cambodia. Let's read.
There's philosophy memes.